And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your February the 13th, day before Valentine's Day, as we get going here on the show. If you're watching us on the archive, thank you for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Lots to cover here in Division III. As we get up and rolling, regional rankings are out. Top 25, there are questions, certainly, especially on the men's side. It's 2.5 weeks until the end of the regular season. We have 2 more regional rankings that we'll see, which will be important as everybody positions themselves. I mean, 2 weeks from Sunday is the end of the regular season, counting the conference tournament. So lots to figure out, as it were, across the board. First regional rankings came out. I think they gave us at least an idea of what the committee is thinking. I should say the RACs and the National Committee. But furthermore, it gives you at least a baseline of what's going on and what you need to kind of start grasping. But there's also some differences. This first regional ranking in 2 weeks will mean nothing. In 2 weeks from on Wednesday will mean nothing. Literally nothing. In years past, the once ranked, always ranked allowed those regional rankings to mean something. The first ones, and that's why they restricted how many they did. They didn't want to have too much first-ranked, always-ranked criteria. The difference is that is gone. It's now only ranked. So in 2 weeks, and what I mean by that is next week, the results versus regionally ranked opponents data will be important. They will then re-rank, and in 2 weeks, this first week will absolutely mean nothing. Zippo. And that will be important. And next week's rankings in 2 weeks will mean nothing, meaning for the final regional rankings. They will mean nothing. So give you a sense that, some people are all up in arms about the regional rankings, and they've got some valid arguments, and I think some that are ill-informed, but it means nothing. And I talked to somebody on the committee who will remain nameless, and we have some points from their point of view to make sure that we get across as I actually go looking for that data. So we got lots to talk about here on the show. SOS numbers are out. I'm glad I printed out the men's side before they disappeared. Don't know what's going on with Turner and the NCAA, but the men's information disappeared. I guess I really shouldn't be all that surprised. Something always happens. We'll figure out what's going on with that in due time. Hopefully they will come back. We've reached out to figure it out. We will hope for the best. So we got lots to talk about in the regional rankings, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. Let me at least give you an idea of what's going on the show tonight. We will celebrate the project completion of the Hoopsville fundraising project. The campaign is over, finished at midnight Pacific time last night. And unofficially, we raised $11,955. To say the least, I am humble. I am very thankful. I am very honored. The website doesn't have that total, by the way. That's because we have gotten additional checks, as it were, from different entities around the country. And there have been some that have been pledged that did not get in time. If for some reason you're watching this show, wishing you had contributed, we understand that the project is over, but there are ways that you can still contribute. Let us know. Contact us. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com, and we will give you the answer on how you can still contribute to the show. Also down the road, hopefully when the shirts come in, we may even put up a link on how you can buy a T-shirt, and those T-shirts, that funding, will go towards the show as well, in case you didn't get a chance to pick one up through the perks. Let's get back. So then our guests tonight, we were wearing 3 shirts tonight because 3 of them are guests who or somebody who contributed a certain amount of money and allowing us to wear a shirt and pick a guest. 3 guests tonight. We will mention those who they are. But first off, here are our guest list. We'll start out on the West Coast. Pomona Pitzer, men's basketball coach, will be joining us, talk about his Sage Hens. Playing pretty good basketball, 16-6 in the SCIAC, and certainly in the battle, as it were. Number 15, Wittenberg men's basketball coach Bill Brown will talk to us about his team and the absolutely on its head NCAC and how crazy that conference has been this year. Also, at Hope, We'll go to Brian Morehouse, and we will talk to him. Oh, sorry. Brian Morehouse from number 3 team in the country. Hope. We'll talk about how dominating they are being this season and how things are shaping up in the NCAA tournament, or potentially for the NCAA tournament for them, and how things are going. We will talk to Stevenson women's basketball coach, Jackie Boswell. You look at their record, 12-10, you go, well, they're 10-5 in the MAC Commonwealth and right in the fray for number 1. Talk to her about the crazy season that they have been experiencing and the battle for the MAC Commonwealth. And we will then talk to head coach Gary Stewart, because it's Coach Stewart that made sure Coach Jackie Boswell appeared on the show thanks to his contribution. And we will wear a Stevenson t-shirt. We'll talk to Maryville women's basketball coach Darren Trevelyan and talk to him about what's going on with his team. USA South is crazy as always. This team is playing very good basketball, though has not played in a few days. We'll talk to him about the scheduling and everything there. Trinity, Texas women's basketball coach Cameron Hill will join us on the show. Another school that is on this show, not primarily, but because someone made a contribution. So we will wear a Trinity shirt as well. We'll jump into the East Coast. Nazareth men's basketball coach Kevin Broderick will join us. Another contribution gets us talking to the Naz, and we'll talk with a shirt on representing Nazareth. And then Coach Chris Harney from St. Mary's out of Maryland will join us. Talk to him about what probably is not an expected season. The CAC a little bit tougher, and St. Mary's in trouble of making the NCAA tournament. So lots to talk about throughout the night. We're also hearing rumblings of a major coaching decision in Division III ranks. As soon as it's confirmed, we will get you more information on that. But let's get back to regional rankings. They are out on the men's and women's side. I think the women's side, pretty status quo. Women don't tend to have any shocking things, but that's because things are a little bit different. So we will probably not worry about the women so much as the men. The men always seem to have lots of questions. And so a few things about the regional rankings to keep in mind. Again, don't matter in 2 weeks what these regional rankings were at all. But here's some of the notes I got from a source on the men's side of things. First and foremost, if you don't know about the SOS, it's being calculated the same way as last year, which many of us, I really shouldn't say me, but many others have figured out is not a very good system. It's flawed. And as a result, the SOS number is probably not reflective of what multipliers are truly there. I've seen some of the math, and the math is interesting. The math basically points out that let's take the SOS like the women use, which has no multiplier whatsoever. You take the old way of doing it, which was multiplying the multipliers by kind of the average of who you faced on home and away. And then you take the current system, which actually multiplies it on the raw data of each game you play, wins and losses. The women's SOS and the current SOS numbers are almost identical. Give and take a few thousandths or even hundredths of a point. Not even hundreds, I would say more of thousandths of a point. Whereas on the other side, the old system, the differences are a few tenths of a point. And that's a big difference in SOS. Anyway, beyond that, moving on, the men's committee talked for 2 hours and 20 minutes on Wednesday. That's a long time and more than they anticipated. They say some things really need to shake out in the coming weeks, and I think what they're saying is they've got a lot of questions about teams they can't get their minds around, or they realize that conference play will change things, or conference tournament play will change things. So things need to shake out. Also, I think the committees are still trying to get used to what they want to do. Remember, they've had conversations and one mock before this regional ranking, so they probably are still figuring things out. That's just a guesstimation on my part. I have been told things are going to be difficult, especially selecting at-large teams this year. They are seeing so much data now, and remember, so much now is in the primary criteria that it almost is not too much. Certainly, I don't want to say that, but it is more than these committees are used to using in primary criteria, especially with many more Division III games associated with the primary criteria. And so already they are alluding to the fact that this is going to be difficult making at-large decisions this year. The Men's National Committee only made a few adjustments to the racks. I do not know what those adjustments were, was not told those or privy to that information, but I do know that they did make a few adjustments to racks. The biggest challenge, according to this source on the men's side, that they are facing is the head-to-head versus entire resume debate. Great example of that would be WashU and Illinois Wesleyan in the Midwest region. WashU has a better record by one loss, and are number one in the region, despite Illinois Wesleyan having a head-to-head victory over WashU. So you can see that head-to-head versus overall resume debate taking place there. WashU's lost further back than Illinois Wesleyan's. Not that every game doesn't count equally, but you certainly look at results. So you can see a debate there between head-to-head and entire resume. And then gaudy record versus low SOS numbers. You see that in Albertus Magnus in the Northeast. There's several other schools in play where you see gaudy records being offset by weak SOS numbers. And the debate, how much do you reward a team for its record and how much do you hurt that team for its SOS, and vice versa? How much do you reward a team for a really good SOS, but that is being hurt by a not-so-great record in comparison? Those are the challenges the men's committee are saying or they are facing. Certainly some good insight, to say the least. Again, in 2 weeks, these regional rankings from week 1 mean nothing, and so on and so forth. So lots to cover in there, and certainly more to talk about as we go down the road. Top 25, let's quickly go through that before we get to our guests. We have a lot tonight. By the way, we'll be going on till 9:30 Eastern Time because of the number of guests that we have. As long as the second round of a nor'easter, which is now rolling through our region here in the Baltimore area, does not knock the power out. It didn't do anything earlier, but it was pouring sleet outside my window about 45 minutes ago. It is now turned over to snow. By the way, we got 18 inches of snow today. Probably not that big a deal to a lot of you, but let me give you this comparison. I went to bed at 4 a.m. at my house. I finally fell asleep about 4 a.m. I've been looking outside. I think we may have had 2 inches of snow on the ground. I woke up at 10 a.m. 6 hours later, we had 18 inches. I'm waiting for you to do the math. Came down at a rate about 2 to 3 inches an hour while I was asleep. I almost wish I had stayed up. That would have been pretty cool to watch. Needless to say, we're getting the second round of that storm now. Games have been delayed. Games have been postponed. We get another storm Friday night. We're going to get it into Saturday. Who knows what's going to happen. But the carnage is still going on. On the women's side, not too bad. Christopher Newport lost to Mary Washington. Apparently, Christopher Newport sent their intramurals team to their home game because they lost to Mary Washington 74-44. If they sent the varsity team the intramural game, that's too bad for the intramural teams who faced the varsity team. The other loss in the top 25 on women's side, John Carroll lost to receiving votes Baldwin Wallace, 78-71. Also a home game. Illinois Wesleyan also on the women's side receiving votes, lost to North Central. You don't see this score in women's basketball that often. 121-113. Why? Oh, because North Central plays the system. On the men's side, the top 12 unscathed as we talk. But 13, 14, and 15 would love to have their days back. Mary Washington lost to Christopher Newport, 74-61. Ohio Wesleyan lost to Wabash, 77-66. Those two games were both on the road for Mary Washington, Ohio Wesleyan. Whereas Wittenberg lost at home to DePaul, 71-49. We'll talk to Coach Bill Brown about that. Randolph-Macon lost at Eastern Mennonite earlier this week, 73-68. Dubuque lost to Loris. Dubuque enters the top 25 twice this year and promptly loses. Loris has been the big killer. He's got a lot of top 25 victories this year, but not a lot of regular victories. They lost 71-70 to Dubuque. And then Messiah lost to Stevenson 64-60. Stevenson sweeps Messiah this season. We'll talk to Gary Stewart about that coming up. Marietta lost to Capital. Geneseo lost to Brockport. Springfield lost to Babson. And St. Olaf lost to St. Thomas. All of those in the receiving categories column. We're going to get going. We're going to jump out to the West Coast. Pomona Pitzer, men's basketball coach, will be joining us on the show to talk about his team and the SCIAC, which is certainly an interesting race, as it is every year. In the meantime, if you have any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. We're going to take a break. When we return, more Hoopsville after this, including Pomona Pitzer out on the West Coast, and plenty more ahead. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. It is Thursday, February 13th. If you haven't gotten your Valentine's Day shopping, we don't care because this is Hoopsville and we're covering Division III basketball. Hope you're having a good evening. If you're on the East Coast, hope you're surviving the winter storm that has blown from Georgia all the way to Maine, certainly causing plenty of havoc. But I hope you're sitting and enjoying the show instead. Certainly has caused some changes to schedules. We will check a lot of that information as we go along. If you have any questions for us or our guests, make sure to tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. And of course, you can join us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Hoopsville. I'm going to jump out from the crazy East Coast to the crazy West Coast. The West Coast would probably love to have a winter storm like we're having right now to fix some problems out there. But nonetheless, we'll talk to Pomona Pitzer men's basketball coach Charlie Katsiaticas. Did I get it right, Coach?
You got it right on.
Very good. Charlie, Coach Cat, we'll call him the rest of the way, though. Joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Men's Division III Championship Weekend in the city of Salem. Coach, 16-6 on the season. Busy SCIAC season, to say the least, as well. How do you see things shaping up as you sit there at 11-2 in conference play, a half game behind the major rival Claremont Mudscripts?
Yeah, there's still although we're coming down the home stretch in our league, there are still some really big games left to go. We're sitting in second right now, one game out in the loss column, and we've got 3 tough games left, and the team that's ahead of us has 4 tough games left, and there's the teams across the league are so much parity there that you really wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of different teams winning or losing down the stretch here. And then we've got we have a conference tournament, so top 4 teams make the conference tournament. And right now, number 3 through 7 are separated by about 1 game. So there's a lot of big games left. Everybody still has a lot on the line, and we feel pretty good about the way we're playing right now, but obviously we've still got a lot of work to do.
Well, you guys have been on a tear most of this season, which just blows me away. I mean, you guys started the season 1-2, rattled off 4 wins, then lost 3 straight. So you were sitting there at at basically 5-5, and you guys have rolled along since then, going 11-1. Nearly since the beginning of the year, starting with a win against Trinity, Texas at their place. Your only blemish was Cal Lou, who jumped up and bit you a little bit. They're sitting a couple games back in conference. You lost that game by 13 at their place a few weeks ago, or really a week ago. Is this team clicking as well as the schedule certainly makes it seem?
I think we are, and I knock on wood because you certainly don't want to, make assumptions or do things to jinx anything. But, every cloud has a silver lining. Early in the season, we had 3 starters that were out at various times over the first month of preseason and in through our first 5 or 6 games. They all 3 weren't out at the same time, but 2 of them were out at the same time, and a third was sprinkled in there. And so at the time, obviously, it wasn't something that you felt real good about. But looking back at it, I think it gave some of our younger guys and some of our role players, it forced them into a position where they had to play roles larger than maybe what we and they had anticipated. And they really stepped up and did a great job of assuming that extra responsibility. And I think where it's really benefited us is once we did get everybody healthy, we really have an 8 or 9 man rotation now that we're very comfortable with guys coming off the bench and producing for us. I'll bet we've had 6 different players in our lineup who have been the leading scorer for us this year. So I think that early season adversity really started, came back and paid dividends for us as the season wore on, and it's continuing to benefit us now as we get into the stretch of the season.
Of course, Cal Lutheran swept you guys, but you lost to Claremont Mudd Scripps back in mid-December by a scant 6, and you got returned the favor at home this time, winning by 7 with 3 games left. That win over CMS seems to loom large because you've now evened it up in the win column.
Right. And actually we split with Cal Lou. We beat them in the first semester, and then we lost out there last week. But yes, that win over Claremont was a big one for us because, again, they could have put a little separation there, but, we tightened it up, and obviously we have some big games left, but it puts a little bit more pressure on them down the stretch here, too. Whereas if they had gotten us on Saturday night, that would have given them a couple-game cushion and kind of taken the pressure off. But, as we know, I think, when you've got somebody breathing down your neck, it creates a little bit more thoughts in folks' minds, and certainly nice to be running for that conference spot down the home stretch here.
This team, deep in the sense if you got a large bench, but you only have you have 4 seniors, counting 1 graduate and Dan Campbell.
Correct.
So you certainly have plenty of leadership on the team. McAndrews leads the way on the team, 17.2 points a game. You got 3 more in double figures, at least 1 more who could be in double figures. You're averaging a double-double, amazingly enough, out of Jake Kluwer, 10 points and 10 rebounds on the nose for both. He can't get no leeway with him, or he's out of this double-double. What are the stats not telling us?
Well, I think you laid it out pretty well there. We've got quite a good balance throughout our offensive situation in terms of a bunch of different guys averaging double figures or around double figures, which, as I said before, I think we've had 5 or 6 different guys who have been the leading scorer this year. So we really don't have to rely on any one guy having to have a big game every night. I think what the stats probably don't show is the team chemistry that we have. I think we've really got an unselfish group. We share the ball extremely well. So depending on the different style of play that we might see each night or the strategy that they're trying to use to stop certain guys, I think we really are able to react to that and basically can take what the other team gives us. So I've been very pleased with our unselfishness, our willingness to share the ball, and just go out and play and try to get it done and not care who's getting it done.
I'm talking to Coach Cat here at Pomona Pitzer. Team is 16-6 overall, 11-2 in conference action. 3 games left to go in that. And, Coach, you got Chapman, Laverne, and Occidental coming up. Certainly not going to be easy. Chapman, Laverne, and Occidental right there in the middle of the pack. All teams dangerous in conference play when you know each other so well. Can you caught Claremont Mud Scripps, but can you get past them, get the win, get that number 1 seed so you can play the game at home?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're going to have our hands full winning out, and that's probably the most important thing, because if they stumble and so do we, then it's all for naught. So we got a big game on Saturday against Chapman over at their place. We beat them in overtime here at our place, so we know that's going to be an absolute bear over there. Claremont, I think they have 4 games left, and they've got some challenging games. So I don't know. I don't worry myself too much with how they're going to play out, because I really, that's nothing I have any effect on. So I'm just going to try to get ourselves ready and see if we can win out and maybe take advantage of somebody else who stumbles.
Of course, the craziness about you guys in CMS, if nobody knows, and your SID is friendly to remind me, but I certainly am familiar a little bit. Claremont, Mud, Scripps, Pomona, and Pitzer, all part of 5 colleges, pretty much sitting on top of each other. All students go to all 5 colleges in some sense. It's a little, I'm paraphrasing badly there.
Right.
You go to one school, but you all use the same facilities, the library, the eating halls, all that stuff is the same. Yet you guys have split into 2 athletic departments, Claremont Mud Scripps and Pomona Pitzer. But it's crazy when you 2 teams face each other, because the fans pick a side, and man, they stick it out for life.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. It's a phenomenal rivalry. As you say, there are 5 separate schools here that are very distinct. Pomona and Pitzer combined together, Claremont, Mud, and Scripps combined together. But there's a lot of interaction between the 5 college community in various ways. So when we play them, it is definitely for the bragging rights, because Lord knows they're going to see each other at events, at social events, in the dining hall, as you said, what have you. And it's an absolute blast. We are so fortunate to have that environment twice a year where people are literally hanging off the rafters for that thing. And it's something we look forward to. I know the guys really look forward to it. It's an extremely healthy and wild rivalry, and it really it was a great game on Saturday night. The place was standing room only, and with rivalries, as you know, regardless of if one team's better than the other, they almost always come down to the last minute, and it's just a really neat situation.
For argument's sake, whether they're hosting or you guys are hosting, I would suspect really in the reality of things, there's no home court advantage.
You're right. You're right. I think both people would like to have it in their gym, but over the years there has not been a real home court advantage there. You walk across the street to their gym, or they walk across the street to ours. The fan base remains about the same regardless of which gym it's at. So the beauty of it is it's a great environment regardless of which gym it's at.
You graduate from Tufts. Certainly know the East Coast as a result, as you're from Ellsworth, Maine. God bless you. My family's up in Calais. I certainly know Ellsworth well. My question to you, though, is it is 84 degrees apparently right there, according to your website. Yeah. Nor'easter's rolling through the east. I'm suspecting you'll take the 84 over a nor'easter on any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
You know what? I've been out here since the mid-'80s. What's that, almost 30 years now?
You said it, not me.
I still cannot get used to walking into a gym for a basketball game when it's 80 degrees out. I grew up in Maine, in that culture, you're supposed to be cold, and snowy, and I just chuckle, and it's almost a treat. But to this day, I still smile when I'm headed to the gym on an 80-degree day for a basketball game that night. It's something else.
Well, you're pretty much used to basketball in the state of Maine when it's really freaking cold, and you're playing in February for a Eastern Maine championship, I suspect.
And high school hoops is big up there.
Oh, it's huge. Now they got a new facility in Bangor to play those games at.
You bet.
Coach, appreciate you coming on the show. Always fun to talk, SCIAC basketball. I suspect when I ask you this, you're probably going to chuckle. Is this one of those years, once again, you guys know this conference gets one team, you got to do the best with it?
That's the assumption we make. There have been years where we've gotten two out of this league, but I think to plan on that you're going down the wrong road there. I think you assume it's going to be a one-bid conference, and you go after it that way. And if something else happens, great. You thank your lucky stars, but you go after it, and you got to take care of business.
Well, I'm sure you're going to take care of business. Team is running quite well, as we said, 11-1 since the turn of the year. 3 games left at Chapman, at Laverne, and, of course, at home against Occidental. The only reason those games are away or significant coaching is you might get caught in traffic, even on a Saturday. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you might have for those who may be tuning in?
No, I know everybody's coming down the home stretch here, and there's a lot of big games, and we really appreciate you reaching out to the West Coast here, Dave, and your coverage of Division III hoops is just phenomenal. So keep up the great work. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to a great run down the stretch here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Coach, for coming on the show. Enjoy the weather, will you please?
You bet, Dave. Thanks.
And we'll talk to you and look forward to seeing how everything shakes out there in the SCIAC.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Take care. Coach Cat joining us from Pomona-Pitzer again, 16-6 overall. Team is playing really good basketball. Watch for that SCIAC race. I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch those two teams as CMS and Pomona-Pitzer battle it out for first place, but more importantly, see who maybe makes a run in that conference tournament and then enters the NCAA tournament as well. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the Great Lakes, talk about area that's gotten used to the weather this year. We'll talk to men's basketball coach Bill Brown about his team at Wittenberg. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville as we're motoring along here on the show here on Thursday, February 13th. Don't forget, 2.5 weeks, we'll be talking about who's in and who's out of the NCAA tournament. That gets us to the point that Hoopsville will be on the road to Salem, Virginia, and not for the championship weekend. On this occasion, we will be down there for the ODAC championship tournament for the women's and men's side on Thursday and Friday primarily, and maybe further coverage. That's all leading into that 2.5 weeks from now. So 2 weeks from now, we'll actually be live in Salem, Virginia. Not sure if we'll actually do a Thursday night show, but we will be on the air Thursday ahead of the women's games and Friday ahead of the men's games. We'll also do interviews throughout down there as well. Still working out all those details, except we do know we will be on the road in Salem, Virginia. In other words, we're going to be on the road to Salem as everybody gets ready to be on the road to Salem. If you have any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. If you have any questions for myself or our guests, that's how you can communicate with us. And we'll go right back to the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Men's Championship Weekend in the city of Salem. And Coach Bill Brown joins us from number 15 Wittenberg, who sit at 17-4 on the season. Coach, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
I appreciate you taking the time. I stand corrected, 17-5. Unfortunately, a bit of a tough loss last night as DePaul snuck up on you once again. They seem to have your number this year.
Well, in fairness to DePaul and in fairness to the, 2 games, they didn't sneak up on us. They're a very, very good basketball team. And, this thing of matchups with particular teams, even though we adjusted, fairly quickly on to go a little bit smaller and try to match up better with them, it really didn't make any difference. So DePaul, just like most of the rest of Division III world, plays extremely hard. They have a particularly good system that fits their personnel, and they have outstanding players. So both, DePaul's just better than us.
When you look at this NCAC, and DePaul's played a major role this year, it's been topsy-turvy. As much as it looked like it would be kind of settled. Worcester was off to a really good start this season. You guys were playing really well. Ohio Wesleyan was back there, but even Coach DeWitt at the beginning of the year said, I don't think we're the third best team in the league right now. And now it's been all over the place. Everybody's beating everybody. DePaul has claimed you guys twice. Ohio Wesleyan just lost the other night. Worcester has certainly not gone unblemished. Has this been a little bit more topsy-turvy than you expected?
Not really. There's always going to be surprise games in the sport of basketball for sure. The North Coast Athletic Conference for really the last 3 years has been just getting stronger and stronger, and is very much the best it's ever been. Hiram, I believe, has 5 total wins, but they are just a tough opponent every time out. And Worcester will attest to that as well as the rest of us. And DePaul, who has just looked like national champions against us in both games and played very well. Who can explain that they go to Oberlin and lose, except that, Oberlin's players play with a lot of passion, and Isaiah does a great job there. It's just a really good league the last couple of years.
You look at the season so far, we mentioned the hot start. Wheaton tripped you guys up in the second game of the season, but then you rattled off something like, I think, 11 straight wins before DePaul and Worcester were back-to-back losses. You won off 3 more than Denison got you guys, 2 more than DePaul. Is this team been having to battle maybe more adversity than they anticipated? Have you guys had to kind of strategize in the last few weeks as you've certainly taken on a lot of good battles here?
Well, we had by our standards a veteran team, and we do really well in non-conference, and we were ahead of maybe some conference schools that we played before the first of the year. We have not been the same team since after the new year, and I would have to say part of that is because of getting into the league full-time and people having knowledge of our experienced players from past years, having a chance to see them in the non-conference schedule, and they figure us out, and they take away those things, and we haven't been able to overcome some of the things that they've taken away.
You talk about this roster. You have a lot of seniors on this squad. 5 by my count. Certainly a lot of leadership. You're led by senior Scott Mason, 15.1 points a game. He's hauling in 9 rebounds. Junior Sam Collins, 11.3 points, and then you get 3 more seniors in Zach Lee, Stephen Newell, Cole Bond, all scoring significant numbers for this team. So you certainly have a good, solid, upper-class core to this group. How important is that, and how much do you need to lean on them as this season starts to wind down with 3 regular season games, the NCAC tournament, and then hopefully the NCAA tournament?
Well, you lean on seniors all the time, and they really can make a difference. And, they're not great players. They're great young men, and, they have their strong points offensively, and they do complement each other well. But as I said, league opponents have really done a good job at trying to take away, the strengths of those guys who play a lot of minutes for us. As far as the mental part goes, it's after we lost to DePaul over there was a need to regroup, and they did a great job. We lost to Denison in a tough game at home, and again, you had to dig down inside, and they did a pretty good job. But we were still in control of our own destiny for the number 1 seed in the league after going to Ohio Wesleyan and beating them for the second time. And then to have all that dashed last night, we're right back to having really to, from a basketball vernacular, dig down deep and just try to go to the next game, which is at Worcester. Not an easy one for sure.
Yeah.
And we hope that those guys behind the scenes are being a very positive force for us.
I was going to say, you got this game against Worcester coming up. We were just talking about the rivalry on the West Coast between Pomona-Pitzer and Claremont Mudd Scripps. Your rivalry with Worcester is pretty solid and exciting as well. You guys had the game at your place. You'd love to get them back on their home court. What's going to be the key?
Well, first of all, it's just bouncing back from a spirit standpoint after, such a drubbing last night in a game that was really a huge game. So that's the first thing. As far as the strategy part of it goes, you just have to pick your poison with Worcester, and their top 2 scorers and shot makers are Thorpe and Brown, the guards, but yet, Kenny DeBoer, who's sort of a point forward, really does a lot of things to get those guys shots. So, you just try to concentrate on those 3 guys the best you can, and we have to shoot the ball better though than we have, and so that's a part of it too. But those 3 guys in particular are just outstanding players, and that's where our defensive focus and most other people's focus has to be, I think.
You guys are sitting in a 3-way tie for second. 2 games back of Worcester with 3 games left. You play Worcester, then you have Kenyon and Hiram. And again, not that anybody isn't tough this time of year, but they're at the bottom of the conference in the records department at least. How important is it to get the job done against Worcester, Kenyon, and Hiram and position yourself, if not for the number 1, but really keep yourself positioned for an at-large if you need it?
Well, it's such a, first of all, Worcester is just our big rival game, so to us it really doesn't, or to the coaches at least, and I believe the players as well, it doesn't really matter right now, what lays out in front of us as far as standings in the league. It's just always a big game. For us to think that we're going to get any kind of piece of the league title, that's not going to happen unless just some really bizarre things happen. So we just need to concentrate on playing good basketball, and even though a lot of our goals have slipped away the last couple of weeks, we still have a goal of trying to squeeze out 20 wins. As far as that large berth goes, it is such a numbers-driven game now, and, you schedule good opponents that have been just really good programs for 3 to 10 years, and they have a down year, you're penalized for that. To me, the strength of schedule should be based on 3 to 5 years of every opponent, not just one given year. So that's not going to, our strength of schedule is getting better all the time because those people, Capital beats Marietta by 20, Thomas More continues to win. But realistically, I suppose if we ran the table all the way through the conference tournament championship game, I suppose we would have a real shot at the at-large. No deference to Ohio Wesleyan, the regional rankings, the first ones came out this week, and they're second in our region, and we're 5th, but yet we've beaten them twice. Who can figure?
Well, yeah, there's certainly, of course, Coach, in 2 weeks, that's not going to matter anyway, the regional rankings.
Yeah.
So tons can change in between now and then. Hey, I appreciate you coming on and joining us. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know you got 3 games you want to prepare for, especially with those Worcester one coming up, but I do appreciate you taking the time. As always, we give you the guest the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, as always, and not to gush all over you, but people should gush all over you and your organization. We just really appreciate your support and publicity and enthusiasm for non-scholarship athletes. I'm just utterly amazed at watching team after team of this clientele who just really, really play hard, and they're not doing it because they're getting a free academic ride. They're doing it because they just really love the game of basketball and playing it. So we appreciate your support.
Well, thank you. And I forgot, you're coming to the Hoopsville Classic next year, correct?
We are.
Yes.
Yep. And looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having the Tigers there. Coach, thanks so much. Good luck the rest of the season. We'll talk soon.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Coach Bill Brown joining us from Wittenberg. Again, team is 17-5 overall, 11-4 in conference play. Big game coming up on Saturday at Worcester. They're then home next Wednesday against Canyon. Finish off the season on the 22nd at Hiram, and then, of course, into NCAC tournament play, trying to position themselves as best as possible as a result. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to stay in the Great Lakes region, but jump onto the women's side of things, talk to one of the top 5 teams in the country, Hope Women's Basketball, number 3 ranked, will join us to talk about their season so far, dominating season so far, sitting at 22-0. If you have questions for our guests or for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com and Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Hope Women's Basketball coming up next.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, on a Thursday evening, February 13th. We are on the air until 9:30 Eastern Time tonight. Chock-a-block with guests. Don't worry if you've missed any of the shirts that we plan on wearing tonight, thanks to those who contributed to the Hoopsville fundraising project, which ended yesterday. Don't worry, you have not missed any shirts. They are coming up. One of the schools that we wore a shirt for earlier, actually was 2 weeks from tonight, or was it 3? When did we do that, Hoopsville? That was 2 weeks ago, the Hoopsville Marathon. Hope, they're coming up next. If you have any questions for our guests, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville or email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Speaking of hope, we'll go to the Hoopsville Hotline, which is presented by the Men's Basketball Championship in Salem, Virginia. And Coach Brian Morehouse joins us from the Great Lakes region, number 3 team in the country, sitting at 22-0, Coach. And first and foremost, regional rankings have come out, and we've had some fun conversing about them last year. I'm sure you're absolutely irate to be ranked 8th.
Yeah. Great to you just want to be on the board at this point, right?
Exactly. You just want to be there. I kid. Obviously, we all know you guys are sitting number 2, I think it is. You guys are having a terrific season. We'll talk a little bit more of the challenges, but you haven't lost a game this season so far. You've taken on plenty of all-comers, as it were, in some senses. How has the season gone in a general sense?
It's been... I would say it's been a season of resilience and maybe a little bit surprising. We graduated an extremely strong senior class last year with 4 seniors, 3 of which were starters and, 3 of which who started for basically 4 years. So we graduated a great crew, and I knew there were going to be some growing pains with just introducing a new lineup, breaking in a freshman point guard, and basically a brand new starting lineup, except for Brittany Berry. So I think that we may have come together a little quicker than I thought. Won a couple, challenging overtime games, and navigated the early part of our season against 2 of our strongest rivals in our league. We beat Calvin on November 19th in a league game, and then we came back like 5 days later and beat Olivet, who's second in our league right now, and we beat them both on the road. So, we do that. Then we have 2 ACL injuries to our starting lineup, and yet we continue to be resilient and tough. And it's been a really gratifying year from that standpoint, just to watch this team not give in to what everybody else wants to use as excuses.
Certainly, apropos of DePaul last year playing without one of their key players for most of the run to a national title. We'll talk about the region in a bit as well, but let's quickly talk about the MIA before we dive in. You guys are sitting at 14-0 in the conference, 2 games, or really 2.5 games ahead of Olivet, who has 2 losses in the conference, both to you. Calvin is right there at 10-3, maybe a little quiet since they're 16-6 overall, but really Kalamazoo's back there as well, but it seems like it's a 3-dog race, and really it's Olivet and Calvin trying to figure out who's going to be the host of the semifinals before someone has to come to Holland.
Right. I think that's really how it's going to end up shaking out. I think that Calvin is 16-6, but that's an awful good 16-6. I mean, 2 of their losses are to us, and then they play Illinois Wesleyan and Baldwin Wallace, a couple other really quality teams. So, they've played an extremely tough schedule, and, Olivet's sitting there at, 18-3, and one of their losses was to a strong NAIA program, and the other 2 losses are to us. So I think our league has shown well, and it's probably a little bit deeper than what people give us credit for, with Kalamazoo having, in my opinion, that woman, Katie Miller, should be the coach of the year. The resurrection project that she's brought through Kalamazoo has been amazing. So, I think our league is good, but the good news is that we've navigated it very well. I think we've undefeated obviously in our league, and we can clinch it on Saturday, which is a big thing for us.
Kalamazoo, by the way, 2-23 last year, sitting now at what did we say it was? 12-9 on the season. You talk about this team, which you talked about the rebuild, as it were. You still have quite a few seniors on it, 4 of them to be exact, but it's a sophomore and Maura McAfee leading the team at 14.2 points a game and 9.5 rebounds. Rebecca Lawrence, the junior, 13.5 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game. Then you get the senior and Megan Kelly at 10, nearly 11 points a game. Junior Britton Berry at 8 points. Anna Kaufman, the senior, at 8 points. What I find interesting is I start reading through the stats, and you got to go pretty far before you get to anybody at 5 points or less. You're getting, as much as you're getting contributions from McAfee and Lawrence and the rest in double figures, you get a lot of players who are contributing.
We do. I think that's always been our trademark, is balance and not caring so much who gets the shots, but just getting a great shot each time down the court. My personal opinion is McAfee's an All-American. I mean, given the number of minutes that she's had and you know, the burden that she's carried this year with, you know, basically all four of our post players from last year being gone, now that Lauren's tore ACL, I mean, she's really carried a huge part of the load, and she's come up with just a bunch of double-doubles in spite of the fact of, you know, if we get up on people, you know, I play my bench. And, you know, we've always been that way. We've never played for All-American status. We've never played for, you know, all-league status. We've always just played for the team and played for the win. So, you know, I give great credit to her for doing what she's done in probably a whole lot less minutes than most other people do it. But, yeah, our bench and our depth has been the key. It's helped us to withstand a number of injuries this year, and I think it's what makes us go.
Let's talk about this. You know, obviously the conference is tough, but the region is stellar this year. You just can't shy away, really, from what's going on in the Great Lakes. You have defending national champs DePaul, who may lose sometime in 3 years from now. You got yourselves. You're ahead of Thomas More, who is blitzkrieging their conference right now, and probably has one of the, you know, a front runner for Player of the Year. In Sydney Moss. John Carroll, who just lost this week, is certainly playing well. Ohio Northern's playing well. This is a tough region this year.
It is. And, you know, the Great Lakes is always tough.
Yeah.
I just think it might be maybe even more balanced and tough this year with so many strong teams. I think so many teams capable beating anybody on a given night. You know, and this is where I can't change the NCAA and I can't change Division III, but if I was in charge, I mean, we wouldn't have regions, and we'd say, all right, I mean, who are our at-larges and who are our tournament champs, and, you know, and then let's get them in, and, you know, let's not worry so much about playing regionally once we get into the national tournament. Let's just try to balance out the brackets as best we can, and not worry so much about playing within the region in the first round or two. And I mean, last year we played Ohio Northern, for Pete's sakes, in the second game of the national tournament, and they might have been undefeated or something crazy. Like, I don't even know what they were, but they're really good. And you know, so I don't know. I mean, we can't be Division I. We'll never be Division I. I understand that, but you know, a little geographic balance, I think, would be a good thing too.
Let's see. Ohio Northern was 27-1 entering that game. So, yeah, it's interesting though, because where you're positioned, I know you've said it to me tongue in cheek, you'll be happy to head east, because if you head west or you into the Midwest or the Central region or the West region, you're going to run into some juggernauts in women's basketball. If you stay in your own region, you're already going to see some juggernauts in some basketball. How willing are you willing to get on that Hope bus and head to Pennsylvania or New York? And have you made that request with the committee?
You know, given my choices, I'll just keep winning and play at home. So we'll leave it at that. But you know, Dave, here's a big difference. And I've been doing this now for 18 years. And back when I was just getting started, we were just getting in the NCAA tournament, my second or third year. You know, you'd go into the NCAA tournament, and there would be teams that weren't that strong, honestly, in the national tournament. You don't see that anymore. I mean, when you get into the national tournament, it doesn't. At least it hasn't for me in the last 10 years. It doesn't matter who you draw on night number one. You don't have a bye, basically, to the second game, and I think that's been the difference in Division III women's basketball. Is the parity, the strength of all the teams has really, really improved. And you know, you're still going to have your programs that are you know, Whitewaters and the Stevens Points and the Wash U's and you know, the Thomas Moores and you know, some of the perennial schools that you hear about year after year with DePaul. I mean, you're always going to have those, but I think that the difference between us and other teams that might have been the 63rd or 64th team in the national tournament, you know, 15 years ago, there isn't that big a difference anymore. And I think that is just a direct result of better basketball across the United States for women.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Of course, it helped to get rid of the X amount of teams always get in from each region rule, but it's certainly the game, well, just in the last 5 years, I think has exploded quite a bit as well on the women's side of things. Well, Coach, I certainly appreciate you coming on. I always love chatting with you. One question before I let you go. Men on the Hope side could certainly be positioning themselves maybe to even get a chance to maybe host. There's always a chance, and men get the rights to the first weekend. Have you guys even considered the fact that you guys might have to hit the road because the men's team is starting to play better and better?
Oh, we're used to it, and I think our men are used to it with both of our programs being strong. It's something that we deal with on a consistent basis, and that doesn't faze me. I mean, this is a resilient group, and Division III women's basketball often is determined as much by geography as it is by anything else where you end up playing versus how good you are. So, I mean, I've been sent on the road before with an undefeated team without the men playing at home. So nothing surprises me. And we'll play who we got to play and line them up and add up the scores. And you know what? I like my team. We'll take our chances, and we'll see how long we can run this thing out.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the show. I really do appreciate it. I do, as I say, enjoy chatting with you. I'm sure we'll run into you down the road. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, first of all, I just really appreciate what you do for Division III basketball. I mean, the service that you guys provide is unbelievable, and it means a lot to, I know, our fan base, who is a regular on your website and a regular tuning into your radio broadcast. So keep doing the great work that you do, and just know that it's appreciated in and around the Holland area.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed our trip to Holland last year for the Women's Final Four as well, so at least got to say I've been in the building. Good luck the rest of the way, Coach. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Dave. Have a great one.
You
Bye.
too. Take care. Coach Brian Morehouse joining us from number 3, Hope. 22-0 on the season. And dealing with adversity. I think that's the thing you take away from that conversation, is it has not been an easy season, and yet they're still 22-0. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the Mid-Atlantic region, which apparently is getting hammered once again by the second half of this snowstorm. I don't have a window, but looking at everything I've seen while on the air being tweeted, I'm surprised we still have power. Anyway, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Stevenson women's basketball, and guess what? You get to see the first shirt of the night on me. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. More Hoopsville right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show on this Thursday, February 13. If you have questions for us or you want to join us or questions for our guests, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Of course, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. We are going to be on the air until 9:30 tonight, barring the second round of this nor'easter rolling through the Mid-Atlantic doesn't knock out power. That being said, we've never lost power in this room, never in this building, and of course that means we will now have that happen. So if we drop off the air, we apologize now. Again, if you have any questions for us, tweet us, email us, etc., etc. Lots of ways to contact us. We'll now go to the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in Salem, Virginia. And joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, thanks in part to a generous donation to the Hoopsville Fundraising Project, is Coach Jackie Boswell from Stevenson. Team is 12-10 on the year. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thank you.
First and foremost, if nobody can't see on the air, I'm wearing a Stevenson shirt now. I got a nice T-shirt on. Generous donation. Allowed us to wear the shirt. And I say allowed us tongue-in-cheek. And, of course, the person wanted to make sure we talked to you guys. This team, 12-10, certainly I've gotten to see a lot of you. 12-10 on the season, but you're 10-5 in conference play. Some would call that a bit of an upside-down season.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I guess when you look at our overall record and our league schedule, it doesn't really match a whole lot, but we did try to find the best out of conference competition that we could, and hoping that it would pay off in the league play and get us ready. And I think that it's done that to a point. Yeah.
I was going to say, when you scheduled your out of conference, was it to say, listen, we're going to challenge ourselves to be ready for conference play? I mean, you took 3 losses off the bat to start the season, or was it one of those where, hey, we've gotten opportunities to play here, let's just at least get our feet wet?
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to play the best out-of-season schedule that we could, and then when we got the offer to go up to Emmanuel College, I didn't think that was something that we could pass up. Emmanuel, obviously a very, very good team and very good program. Coach has been there for a really long time. So when we had that opportunity to go up there and have a chance to play St. Lawrence and Emmanuel just completely out of our region, that was just an opportunity we couldn't pass up, and we just tried to focus the kids' attention on the experience and the level of play as opposed to the record.
Again, 3 straight losses. Then in the middle of December into January, 3 losses out of 4 to wrap up the holidays and then start after the holidays. You guys have almost had kind of fits of losses and wins. 3 losses to start, 4 wins to follow, 3 out of 4 losses, then 3 wins, then 2 losses, then 3 wins, then 2 out of 3 losses. Is it hard to keep the team kind of on that emotional roller coaster, as it were?
I think it is. I think it's still challenging for us because, we are still young in the sense that we don't have this kind of experience behind us to help us through these ups and downs. Because if you look at it, sometimes, even just coming off of last night's loss wasn't something that we could really predict that we would come out and not play that well in the first half. And I think it just, goes back to just our youth and our lack of experience. And that's what we're trying to get out of the season. We're really just trying to gain that kind of experience and get that kind of confidence. In
conference action, you guys are still in the fray, as it were. You're 3 games back of Messiah, who you just lost to, but you're only a game back of second with Elizabethtown and Lebanon Valley. It right now looks like a 4-horse race at the top right now. You guys have, 3-4 games left in the season. Technically Albright on Saturday. We'll see. Elizabethtown on Tuesday, followed by Lebanon Valley on the road to finish off the season. Can you guys get in position, thanks to the fact you're playing E-Town and Lebanon Valley, and be able to maybe secure a number 2 spot?
I think so, because I think the best thing in our favor right now is the destiny is in our control. So no matter what happens over these next 3 games, we have control of them. We don't have to depend on someone else to beat somebody else. And so I think that's a really positive thing to try to go in and tell our kids, and hopefully they buy into that a little bit, because if we can take care of business in these next 3 games, then we are really sitting in a pretty good position going into playoffs. So the good thing about the next week is that everything is in our control.
Messiah, Elizabethtown, Lebanon Valley, all teams that have been in part of the conversation when you talk about the national landscape. But this conference has been on its head. How do you keep the team focused on a game-to-game basis?
Well, I think we just try to even break it down even further and keep it on a day-to-day basis. Every day at practice, what are we trying to accomplish today in practice? What do we need to work on? And then who are we preparing for next, or what are we trying to fix from the last game? So I think that's really important, is just try to take it day-to-day. You know, after last night's loss, we need to just kind of wipe that away, because we can't have that loss affect the next 3, because if we are to lose the next 3, we've really put ourselves in a bad position, and that would be really disappointing, considering that the season that we had, I think, to this point has been successful, even though it's had its ups and downs, has been successful. So I think we just want to try to take it day to day. Obviously, we lost today a little bit with the snow, but, you know, I know that our kids got in the gym on their own, and, you know, I think that's a good sign.
I was going to say, you guys got unceremoniously punted by Messiah last night by 31. You now have this Albright game at home, supposedly coming up here on Saturday. We'll see if all the weather cooperates to let you guys play. How do you tell a team to forget about a 31-point loss to a team like Messiah?
Well, you know, I think again, going back to our experience of the season, we've been here before. If you look at the Roanoke game, we just didn't play well, and we got beat pretty good by Roanoke, and then we came back and won a couple games. Then we got beat really bad against Elizabethtown, and then came back and won a few games. So, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, we have been in this position before, and that's what I said to our kids last night. Okay, look, we've been here. We've gotten beat pretty good this season, and we've been able to bounce back. And then the question is, can we just continue to bounce back with it? So close to us right now, and it's right in front of us right now. I feel really confident that we can.
What's scary about this team is there's no seniors on this unit, led by juniors. Kayla Kelly, Kira Harmon, Ty Bender. Kayla Kelly, 12 points a game. You've got Harmon at 9 points a game and 6.5 rebounds. Bender, 8 points a game, handing out 2.5 assists a game. So is Kelly at 2.5 assists a game. Stephanie Martinez, who was certainly one of the players to watch in the conference last year. Caitlin Roy, both sophomores. Kaylee Guzek off the bench as a junior. I mean, there's no seniors to this squad. This is almost seeming like a prep for next season.
Correct. I mean, you can look at it definitely that way, and that's what we'll focus on if things don't work out our way this year. But you know, we're still just going to try to see how far we can go this year. And I think our kids are competitors. They're mad that we lost last night. They're not happy with their performance, and I don't think that they're willing to wait for next year, because this has been it's been a long season, and they know how much work has to go into it. So I don't think they're ready to just give up this year. But you're right. We'll come back next year, but at the end of the day, too, everybody's going to know who we are and what we're about next year, so we have to still come back better.
I was going to say the cat's out of the bag in some senses of the word.
Right.
This team is certainly no surprise to anyone. Again, 3 games left, Albright, Elizabethtown, Lebanon Valley, then certainly want to position yourself nicely for the conference tournament. If not, take advantage of the bye. How important would it be to get a game at home?
Oh, I think it's really important. But, you know, like I said, we control our destiny, and out of the next 3 games coming up, we got 2 out of 3 of them at home. And so, again, we got to focus on that. That's real positive for us. We have a good hometown crowd. The school's really getting behind us, and the students are really getting behind us. The attendance at our games lately have been really good. So we're real excited to have these last, 2 out of the last 3 games at home.
Of course, the weather, as you point out, caused havoc today. More to come, as it were. How do you guys prepare for any times games could be postponed or moved around?
Well, we talked about it the other day that everybody's in the same position, so we can't use that as an excuse, and that we have to just go with it and do the best we can. We hope to get practice in tomorrow, and we, really are optimistic that we'll hopefully get this game in on Saturday. Hopefully Mother Nature doesn't have a different plan, but if that's the case, I don't know where. No one in the league has really talked about where we put the game on Saturday yet, so we might be looking at a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday next week, and that would be really tough to end, but that's what we'll have to do.
Certainly. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show. I know I did not tell you. I don't know if it's been let out of the bag, but your brethren in Gary Stewart is the one who chose you to be on the show. If it makes you feel better, I'm going to grill him with some questions here in a matter of minutes.
That's good. Well, tell him I appreciate it. I do appreciate his support.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the season, Coach. I always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be watching?
Yeah, I just want to, again, thank everybody for their support this year, and I wish everybody good luck. I think it's been a good conference for both teams, both men and women. I'm looking forward to this last week.
Very good. Well, Coach, thanks so much. Good luck, and I'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Take care, Coach.
All right.
Jackie Boswell joining us here on the Hoopsville Show. Again, they play Albright, if everything goes according to schedule, on Saturday at home. They're then at home against Elizabethtown next Tuesday, finishing off the season against Lebanon Valley at the end of the season. It's a who's who of a hit list there for the women's team as they try and position themselves 12-10 overall, 10-5 in conference play, can have a chance maybe even at a number 2, or well, definitely could have a chance at a number 2. We'll see how it all plays out. I am wearing a Stevenson t-shirt and had Coach Jackie Boswell on the show because of a wonderful contribution from their men's coach in Gary Stewart. We will go to a break and quickly get back because Coach Gary Stewart will be on the Hoopsville hotline to talk about, technically his passion for Division III. His story is a little bit interesting. You've not heard it. We'll certainly talk to him about that coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Coach Gary Stewart from Stevenson, right after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things, not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville. One of the cool things that we had was the Hoopsville fundraising project, which wrapped up officially last night. Again, unofficially, $11,955 were raised for this show to improve it and grow it into the future. That's already resulted in a brand new computer. We've gotten some other small things. We've already announced that we were going on the road for the ODAC Championship Tournament, at least a few days of that coming up in 2 weeks from today. All of that because of kind contributions from many, many of you out there. One of the cool perks about it was you could select a perk depending on how much you donated and would get me to wear a shirt of your favorite school and have a guest on and maybe even have yourself on. I am wearing a Stevenson University t-shirt as we speak. I just got done talking to Jackie Boswell, the women's basketball coach, because that was the selection of the person who donated, and the person who made the contribution also got a chance to come on the show. And so joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem, Virginia, is Coach Gary Stewart joining us here. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Thank you, Dave.
It's a nice T-shirt. I just want to say that for the record. Might not be able to see it around the microphone very well, but it's a good shirt. First and foremost, a public thank you for you and your wonderful contribution, sir.
Well, Dave, it was my pleasure. You do a terrific job, and we look forward to many, many more years of great service that you do across the country for Division III men's basketball, women's basketball, and football.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that kindly. Of course, the Hoopsville Classic, you and I are partnered through that, whether we like it or not.
That's right.
We certainly have our crazy times. And you guys have been big supporters of that, and I think that's been a big deal. First and foremost, I know you and I haven't officially talked and haven't officially named names, but Wittenberg was on the show earlier tonight, and they are certainly coming to the Hoopsville Classic. But from your point of view, in case anybody out there really hasn't heard, or gotten the point of view from you, what's your goal with the Hoopsville Classic?
Well, we try to do a couple things. One, we want to draw attention across the country, so we look for teams in different regions that have demonstrated a sustained level of play that warrants special attention. We've been able to attract some of the best programs in the country from some of the most prominent conferences. And we also look for up-and-coming programs, programs that are ascending, and then we kind of put our hats together, you and I, and see if there's somebody that doesn't fit in those two criteria, but someone that certainly warrants strong consideration. So I think those are the three things that we factor in. We look at a lot of information, and we've been able to attract what we think, I think I'm speaking for you, but what we think is a real attractive field the first 2 years of the tournament, and we look forward to continuing that trend.
Absolutely. I think the first year 8 teams, second time 10. I think by the time things could be said and done, we could have, 24 teams coming to this thing?
That's exactly right.
Cause complete chaos in the entire world and our lives. Obviously we'll talk about some of the teams in the future, but Wittenberg, we've heard Mary Hardin Baylor is interested. We've had quite a few teams coming up next year. We certainly could be good, and even after that, it's looking even stronger.
It is. It is. I was looking at the standings earlier today, and the only team that's undefeated in the country is Cabrini, and we were fortunate to have them in our tournament. And it really gives the nation an early barometer of programs that are going to be very, very good, and certainly Cabrini fits into that.
Well, let's talk about your team, if you don't mind, sir. You guys have had one heck of a run this year and kind of an up-and-down stretch. Started off really well. One loss, basically 2 losses in 2013, finishing it off on December 30th against Oglethorpe with a loss. Came back, had a thrilling double overtime win over Messiah after a couple losses, seemed to right the ship. But then you guys kind of hit a rough patch there. You lost 4 out of 5 games. E-Town, Hood, Alvernia, and Widener tripped you up. Now you've rallied back to win against Lycoming and Messiah. How tough's this season been?
Well, it's been interesting. It's been a windy road, if you will. We've lost 4 games by a basket. We've lost in every fashion. We've had buzzer beaters from half court that have gone in. We've had the ball with under 10 seconds left and a lead. We've had the ball with 20 seconds left and a lead, and lost 2 games by basket there. So it could be very, very good. But I'm proud of the group. We've got a young collection of student athletes, and we only start 1 senior. So not only are we are moving the program forward this season, but the future, I think, bodes well.
This is a team that's in the hunt right here in the conference. Messiah's leading the way, only a game up on you guys. Half a game behind are you guys, basically a game in the loss column to Alvernia, who's resurgent in the last few weeks. Hood, who was certainly hot, has now struggled and is now sitting behind you guys. Albright looming. You've got them on Saturday. Seems like a bit of a hodgepodge of a conference this year.
Well, I think it speaks to the parity in the conference. It is an extremely difficult conference, very, very well coached, some excellent talent, and some hard venues to play in. So you factor all that in, and you're going to get some very, very competitive games, which we have, and I expect the final week and a half here to be more of the same.
You got Albright again coming up on Saturday, weather permitting. Elizabethtown on Tuesday, finish up with Lebanon Valley. Certainly not anybody ahead of you, but certainly teams that can trip you up. Obviously, E-Town got you guys earlier. What's the message to the team as you guys have turned around what is, under your tutelage, you guys have turned things around and now are a major factor in the region. What's the message, though, to make sure you're positioned for the conference tournament?
Well, we got to continue to do some of the things that have gotten us to this point. We're defending better. We had a good outing last night. We held Messiah to their lowest total of the season. We went on the road to Widener and allowed 57 points. So we're doing some good things there the last couple of weeks defensively, and we've got to continue that trend. We've got to rebound the ball better. We just flat out stopped rebounding for about 2 weeks and picked a bad time to do that. But we seem to have righted that ship, and then we've got to execute offensively. One of the things that I think we've got to address here is we've got to take better care of the basketball, and I'm confident that we will. But it's imperative that if we are to play well to close the season out, we've got to take care of the basketball.
Let's talk about yourself in case anyone's not familiar. You are a graduate of Laverne. You then certainly had a tremendous coaching career at Laverne before going off into the D1 world a little bit before returning to, let's say, your roots in Division III. Give everybody a little bit of a synopsis of who you are in that sense.
Well, I'm a guy that really believes in and providing an enriching experience for the student athlete, and I've been very fortunate and humbled to be associated with so many wonderful people throughout my tenure, and I'm immersed in fundamental play. That's really critical to my teachings. And if you look across the board, traditionally I have student athletes that you're not going to see a guy that scores 26, 27 points. We normally have 3 to 4 guys in double figures. This team has 4 guys in double figures and 2 others that are fast approaching that level. So, well, we like to share the ball. We play as a team on both ends of the floor, and at the end of the day, I'd like to talk about all the graduates that I've been associated with. Been real fortunate to have coached some extraordinary young men that are doing some incredible things in their respective communities.
Well, certainly a tremendous season this year, despite the ups and downs. 3 big games coming up, I know, and then conference play, or tournament, I should say, hopefully with a run to the NCAA tournament. You never know. As always, we give the coach the final word. Coach, anything you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, Dave, I just want to publicly thank you for all your hard work, and I know firsthand the hours that you spend, and you're a perfectionist, and that's one of the things that's been, I think it's catapulted the Hoopsville tournament to national prominence, and again, I'm very grateful for all your contributions, not only to the tournament, but what you do for Division III as a whole.
Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate the kind words. Thanks again for the awfully kind donation. Generous donation is what I was trying to say, all with one word. I appreciate it very much. I know I'll see you soon, and good luck to the rest of the season.
Thank you, Dave. Good talking to you.
All right. Yes, definitely. Take care. Coach Gary Stewart joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline once again, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem. We're going to take another break. We still got another hour of the show, should weather permit. Apparently, I might have to take a long break and run upstairs. Apparently, snow may be coming down at 2 to 3 inches an hour again. If nobody knew what happened in the Mid-Atlantic overnight, I went to bed at 4 a.m. with maybe 2 inches of snow on the ground. I woke up at 10 a.m. There was 18 inches of snow on the ground. Yeah, coming down hard. Apparently it's doing it again. I'm glad that we live in an area we don't tend to lose power so we can stay on the show. But Unbelievable finish to this major nor'easter. And by the way, this is having effects on schedules. Remember how we said Cabrini was going to have 4 games this week? They're going to play Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. The joke was the previous week they were supposed to play Wesley and weather canceled that. They were supposed to play on Wednesday, and Ice Storm postponed that to Thursday, and then that postponed it. Well, Wednesday and Thursday were supposed to be Immaculata. That game got moved to tonight. That game has now been postponed once again because of this weather. Cabrini can't catch a break right now. Now they're going to play Cabrini next on the 20th in a week from tonight. There's something brewing for next week as well. This weather on the East Coast, I know it's been across the country. I know the Midwest has had to deal with it. The Great Lakes have had to deal with it. But in the last few weeks, the weather on the East Coast has been batty, and lots of teams have had to move games, move them up, postpone them, etc. So always keep track of D3Hoops.com. We'll do our best to keep up with that. Keep track of us on Twitter as well. We usually post those kinds of information when we receive it. We're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to, we're going to go down south to where they even had to deal with some weather recently as well. Trinity, Texas we're going to jump down to south first, who dealt with this storm, Maryville, and then Trinity, Texas women's basketball coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. More Hoopsville when we return with plenty to cover.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, on a Thursday night in our area, a very blustery, blizzardy, wintry night as we take round 2 of nor'easter blowing up the coast. And I'm just happy our power is still on. If you have any questions for us or our guests, you can tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville at D3Hoops.com, Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. Of course, it's right there on the bottom of your screen. Or Facebook us at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. Going to jump into some women's basketball and talk to a team in a conference that is certainly one worth chatting with. And that is Maryville. The Scots are 18-3 on the season. And Coach Darren Trevelyan joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time to do so. Team is 18-3, as we mentioned, 11-1 in a newfangled USA South. I say that tongue-in-cheek. We'll talk about that in a bit. You're a half game out from Ferrum. Basically, they've got 12 wins. You got 11. You're a half game up on Greensboro. You have 1 loss. They have 2. Piedmont lurking at 8-4 in conference play. Of course, if anybody remembers the USA South last year, it was you guys, Ferrum, and Christopher Newport were the big 3 coming out of the NCAA tournament. And now, of course, that is, Christopher Newport has left, but it didn't necessarily calm things down in the conference at all.
Right. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's highly competitive, and regardless of what our record says, every single one of those games could have gone either way. So they're definitely didn't make it any easier to lose Christopher Newport.
Yeah. This is a team that is playing pretty good, at least on paper. Again, only 3 losses on the season, 1 in conference. Center tripped you up back in the 3rd game of the season. You lost to Emory by just 1, and, of course, for a while there, that Emory squad looked unbeatable. You lost to Ferrum. But since you lost to Ferrum on January 4th, it's been nothing but winning basketball. I believe, if I did my math right, at least 10 straight. How has the season gone from your point of view, especially the last 10?
Sure. Well, I think the Ferrum game, Ferrum's an outstanding club. I mean, they're well coached. They have all the pieces, and they're a team that could make a very deep run in the tournament. But for us, I think the Ferrum game was a reminder of some deficiencies we had. I think it was maybe an acknowledgement that we had to get back to work and work a little bit harder. And the kids bought into that message, and every game since then has been a grind, but I think we've learned to win a little bit along the way. So it definitely was a wake-up call in a game where we had to grow and figure out who we were going to be as a basketball team.
It certainly seemed like you got the message across. The team grew as you guys have won ever since. Is this a team that maybe is quietly a little more dangerous than people realize?
Well, I don't know. I'd love to believe that. You know, when you're in the trenches every single day and you look at it, I think often you're finding all the warts maybe, and you're finding the things that we got to be better here, and we got to do this, and we've got to address that. But the reality is, I have a group of kids who work really hard, who buy into what we're doing, and I know we're going to compete every night, and we just try to give ourselves a chance. And so if that means we could be dangerous, then that's great. If that means we still have to get better, then that's what we're going to try to do these next couple of weeks.
What jumps out at me about your roster, besides 2 seniors, which is certainly par for the course, as listed, it's an entire guard team except for 3 positions: 1 forward, and 2 centers. Is that as to be believed, as it were? I mean, 1 guard's listed at 5'9". Another one's at 5'8". Those tend to be more forwards in the reality of things. So is this all guard play really reality, or are you guys playing a little bit more commonalities on the floor?
No, well, I don't want to give everything away.
No,
I guess,
but everyone's seen you on tape anyway.
I'm kidding. No, we're very guard heavy. I mean, there's reality there. We are very guard heavy. Within that, though, we traditionally just play 1 post at a time, and so we have 3 post players on our roster who rotate in and out for each other. Otherwise, we are going with 2 guards on the floor, both of whom have played point guard for us, and then our 2 forwards on the floor could definitely slide over and play the 2 and the 3. And so, in terms of a matchup, I mean, we're pretty guard heavy, and that's the way we're going to play. If we need to go inside, we've got enough length, I think, at the guard spots that we can get some buckets from our bigger guards.
You've got 14 players on the roster. You've essentially gone 9 deep almost every game. Lindley Dunn has not been in there for 1 of those, but we'll just say 9 deep for pretty much the season. You're led by Mackenzie Puckett at 7, really 18 points a game, 7.5 rebounds a game. Lauren Burnett, 10.5 points a game, 4 rebounds a game. Of course, then there's Kelsey Brown, Alex Bond, Lauren Trent, all with 6 or more points a game, along with Mindy Brackens and really Layla Farmer too. So while you've got a couple of weapons at the top, you look like you like to go deep, and they all contribute.
Right, and that that's been sort of a staple of the way we've built our program over the past few years. Is this is probably 1 year where we have 1 scorer who jumps out a little bit more than what we've typically done. We've been 4 kids in double figures the last few years, and this year Mackenzie's probably scoring a little bit more and probably a little bit heavier in minutes than we would like. But at the same time, I feel like we've got enough kids who understand our philosophy, and it's about taking great shots. If it's not a great shot for you, then kick it to somebody else. And as long as people are sharing, I think we get great looks for each other, and nobody on our team cares who scores, and that's the other great thing about it.
You have a team, and since you've taken over, has done nothing but win games and have 20-win seasons. 24-5 last year, 21-7 the year before that, 21-5 the year before that. You're on track to do that yet again at 18-3. I know you don't want to give everything away, but what's been the secret?
Well, first of all, you're very kind to point that out. But the secret has really been that we're going to defend you in the half court, and we're going to make you take tough shots. From there, we're going to get on down the floor as quickly as we can, and we're going to probe that defense initially, see if we can get a great look. If we don't get that look, then we're going to grind it out a little bit, and we're eventually going to get a good look. And, I wish I had a lot of magic tricks and a lot of great secrets, but it's really been about defending people and being unselfish offensively and understanding what's a great shot for Maryville College, and you have to buy into that. If you don't buy into that, it's not a great fit for a player. If you do understand that's the way we're going to play, then I think our success has spoken for itself the past couple of years.
You're from the Chicago area, and of course,
right.
You then went to Kentucky to go to school, and now you're back in Tennessee. Being one who's been from the Chicagoland area and was unceremoniously transplanted to Maine, I got to ask what draws you away from Chicago and into the heartland of the United States?
Yeah, that's a great question and one that comes up pretty often. I went to the University of Kentucky to learn to be a basketball coach. The bottom line is when I went there, Coach Pitino was there with the men's team, and Billy Donovan was an assistant there. On the women's side, Sharon Fanning was there, and she was very successful. And so I went there to be a coach and just wanted to get my feet wet. I was lucky enough that Sharon Fanning had an opening for a manager and let me get involved with the program. And on the men's side, they were gracious enough to let me sit there with a notepad and watch every day. And so that's how I ended up at UK. What ended up bringing me to Maryville, to the Tennessee area, is that my wife is a professor of English at the University of Tennessee. And so I'd been a high school coach in Illinois for several years. And when we made the move, there was an opening at Maryville. I got in as an assistant, and then I was fortunate enough to be there to take over as the head coach. And so it's been a great move. It's been a great move for my family. People at Maryville have given me a great opportunity and have been very supportive of what we're doing, and it's been pretty good so far.
Last year's team makes the NCAA tournament, can't get through the second week again. We're in it to some team named DePaul.
Yeah, they're not bad.
No. They're okay. Year before that, you guys make it to the first round and run into a team named Illinois Wesleyan.
Again, very, very good team.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They had a few players who could score, right?
Of course, the year before that, you guys couldn't get out of the conference tournament. But if you guys aren't set up with a team that you might have to face that is pretty much a perennial power or a perennial favorite for a national championship, how do you think this team can do?
Well, the thing that I always say going into it is anybody who's in our bracket has got to feel really good about their chance to cut down the nets. They really have to feel good if they know they're in the Maryville bracket. At some point, I'd love for us to be the team feeling that way. But, my kids are going to compete, and my kids are going to play hard. It's so hard to project how you would do in the tournament based on the way those brackets are put together, who's hosting. There's so much that goes into it, the level of familiarity, the travel. If you're right on that outskirts of are you flying, are you bus? There's so much that goes into it. I'd like to think that we're a team that could make its way out of that first weekend. But there are so many things that go into it that once again, if we can get there, we know we're going to compete. We're going to represent Maryville College the best we can, and it's all about an opportunity. That's really what we try to do every year.
You went to Kentucky to learn to be a basketball coach. You end up in Division III. Is Division III your home?
I think so. There's certainly a part of me that says, that Division I world is certainly very attractive, and there are many of the perks. But I think at the Division III level, there's a whole lot of it that we're doing right. And when we talk about the idea of a true student athlete, I can't imagine anything that embodies that anymore. These are kids who are part of a rigorous curriculum, and these are kids who are paying loans and who are doing things they have to do to be able to continue to chase their dream. It's still a place where everybody knows everybody in this area, and we all know we're in these sacrifices together. So there's a whole lot about D3 that I really have grown to love and that I really appreciate.
The next 4 games aren't going to be anything but easy. You've got Huntington on the road in Alabama to Saturday. You're then in Georgia on Sunday, as long as they've thawed out.
Right.
Midweek, you got to travel to Piedmont, which will be anything but an easy trip, to say the least. I think that's Wednesday. And then you got to, let's see, I'm double checking. Yeah, Wednesday you got to travel to Piedmont, and of course that's another trip down to Georgia. That's not going to be easy.
Right.
Then you finish at home against Huntington. How do you keep the team focused when the travel certainly is going to be a bit of a bear here?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you go back to the beginning of our season, we played our first 9 games on the road. And so if there's any sort of a training ground for what travel means in terms of checking in and out of hotels, in terms of getting up early for shooting times, I mean, just bringing your homework on the bus, we've done that stuff. You know, we've done that. We did that early on, and these kids have embraced that. So the travel part of it, I feel like we'll manage. The opposition, on the other hand, is really the greater challenge. And, you know, all these are old foes that we know well from our days in the Great South that are now with us in the USA South. I mean, these are all very, very good teams. I believe every one of them has a winning record right now, if I'm not mistaken, overall. They're all in the hunt to try to get in this conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge isn't necessarily the travel necessarily. It's really the competition you're going to play and these old rivalries, because these games mean so much to so many people that it definitely predates my time at Maryville.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and of course you're right on the records. Piedmont 14-7, Huntington 15-5, LaGrange 12-9. Those are the overall records.
Right.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show. It's going to be fascinating to see how this team does, especially get into conference tournament action. I know you're positioning yourself there. By the way, where is the tournament this year? I've got a note here, Fayetteville.
It's actually to be determined.
Okay. That's what I thought.
The winner of the 2 divisions will host,
right?
And that was something that actually came down the pike once we got into this academic year. And so the number 1 overall will host a tournament. And you know, as of today, as you pointed out, that's Ferrum sitting on top, and you know that'll be an easy trip, and that's a great place to play. I mean, they're really friendly to the fans. So if that's where we go, then that's where we go. Love to bring it to Maryville, but it could be anywhere at this point, and that's a little bit exciting, too, as you're getting down to the last week, because every game really does matter in this conference as we're wrapping things up.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. I always give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I appreciate you having me on. I think the thing we've tried to do since I've been at Maryville is we've tried to build a program that carries itself the right way, that's going to compete the right way, that's going to have kids that take care of business in the classroom. My team embodies that. And however we finish this thing out, I'm thrilled with what we've done so far. I'm thrilled with the kids that I have. And we're just excited about these last couple of weeks to try to chase one more dream to get into the NCAA tournament.
Well, very good, Coach. Congratulations on the season. Looking forward to seeing how the team does, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the road.
All right. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely, Coach. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Coach Darren Trevelyan joining us. Maryville 18-3 overall, playing good, and it's a tough stretch for them. 3 on the road, starting Saturday, and then 1 to finish up at home, trying to position themselves for conference tournament action. Going to take a break. When we return, we're going to jump down. We're going to wear another T-shirt. Trinity women's basketball coach will join us here on the show, thanks to a kind contribution, and we certainly hope you will tune in for that. It's worth the listen. Cameron Hill will join us here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville. If you have any questions for our guests or myself, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com, and, of course, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. It is Thursday, February 13th, and we are off and running once again. We're normally wrapping up the show about 9, but because so much is going on, and of course the Hoopsville fundraising project was so successful, and there's many people to get on per kind contributions, we've extended today's show at least 30 minutes. We may extend other shows as well. So please tune in. If you have any questions for us or our guests, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. Speaking of the Hoopsville fundraising project, slightly under $12,000 raised officially in the 30 days that we had the project going on. We have more coming in as well. If you have any questions on how you'd like to contribute, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. We can certainly take contributions. We also will be putting up, hopefully soon, information on how you can get a hold of a Hoopsville t-shirt. Speaking of t-shirts, I am now wearing the latest version. It's the Trinity basketball t-shirt with the skyline of San Antonio on there. Wonderful contribution. Want to thank our contributors. We had 2 who actually picked out that Trinity U should be on the show. Our esteemed colleague, Pat Cunningham, the men's basketball coach, and of course, Ron Berger, a huge supporter of Division III down in Texas, and of course, a big supporter on the D3 boards as well. I want to thank those 2 gentlemen for their contribution. Got us the Hoopsville t-shirt and got us our next guest. We'll go to the Hoopsville hotline presented by the men's basketball championship weekend in Division III down at the city of Salem in Virginia. And joining us from Trinity, Texas and San Antonio, it is Cameron Hill, women's basketball coach for Trinity, Texas, who are 17-5. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank your brethren and Pat Cunningham. He insisted I not talk to him and only talk to you. And just between you and me, in case he's listening, I'm glad for that decision. I'm done talking to Pat. He's boring. If anyone knows our interviews with Pat, they're anything but boring. First and foremost, 17-5 on the season. You guys, it's been kind of an up and down season. I think, from my point of view, it seems like there were expectations there. You guys have had a couple of tough runs there in the middle, but you're also playing good basketball until Austin the other night.
Yeah, anytime you have the type of success we had last season, you're going to come into an opportunity to, defend that. And I think early in the season we did a really good job. Obviously, getting into conference, everything kind of evolves. And, our conference opponents have, as I said earlier in the season, they've all improved. And, I think, speaking specifically about the Austin game, both games, McHugh has done such a good job with them, and their team, I feel like, has really grown up. They're playing much more patient, mature brand of basketball, and it really did give us some trouble. Having said that, I think it's important for us to, see teams like that and experience games where we really have to battle and know that we're not invincible, and we are human. And, if we don't do things the right way, execute the game plan, we can be beat. So it may sound funny, but in a strange way, I feel, I'm happy that we've had games like that this season because it's forced us to focus on things we really need to get better at.
You've had a mixture of games. Let's quickly just point out that in conference action, you have the same record as Texas Lutheran. Both of you 9-2 in conference play. A game back as Schreiner and Southwestern at 8-3. Austin looming at 6-5. But your schedule has been a collection of everything. You have about 3 non-Division threes in there. You play UC Santa Cruz, who doesn't usually come up in conversation. I think I looked at their schedule. They played all but 6 or 8 of their games before the turn of the year, of course, being an independent. Right. You played Moravian and beat them by 19, and now they're playing well out of the Mid-Atlantic. You lost to Texas Dallas. You played Wash U and lost by only 8. You played Illinois Wesleyan and beat them. You played George Fox. Unfortunately, they brought everybody to that game. Austin's tripped you up now twice. Conference play. Colorado College, it was 113-47. This has been, you read through this and you're going, wow, okay, this interest. It's been one heck of a year.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. And you know, quite frankly, it's been a great challenge for our staff, you know, to figure out day to day what the best way to go about our work is with our team. And we've got a great group of girls, very competitive, you know, but also, you know, we're learning how to play, you know, I think a little at a time. I mean, we've had to make some adjustments based on some injuries, and, you know, we've had big gaps in our schedule. I mean, if you're looking at the schedule, you see there's huge gaps in there where we've kind of just been in the gym with our team for extended periods of time, and that's been an interesting thing to manage throughout the season. And I think, you know, with our team, when we're really dialed in and we're playing, we can compete with anybody in the country. You know, conversely, there's nights where we, you know, just aren't making shots or things aren't going our way. You know, so, I mean, it's been, in my experience, my life in the game of basketball, you see a lot of seasons like this where on any given night we're capable of doing really great things. It's just a matter of getting it all put together, which has been a fun challenge for us. And I feel like we're really kind of turning a corner right now in spite of our last performance against Austin.
You had 2 seniors on this squad, obviously underclassmen taking a major role for this team. You're led by an underclassman in Anisha Richardson, 15.9 points a game. Murphy Burns, 15.7. Hannah Cole, 15.2. Those 3 are the big 3. Of course, Burns is one of those seniors out there. They're getting the most points. Libby Cruz, we shouldn't forget her. She's hauling in nearly 10 rebounds a game, and she's the other senior on this squad. But you're also getting contributions from others. How has this team, you know, gelled, and what's been the secret this year?
You know, I think we've got good teammates. You know, our girls, it's been an adjustment period. There's no question about it. Anytime you take over a program, just beginning with that last year, moving into year 2, I mean, there's a lot of working parts. Our young kids have done a tremendous job coming in and getting accustomed to, you know, my personality as a head coach and what the expectation is from us and from our upperclassmen. And, you know, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, Nisi is a tremendous player, but she's not nearly as effective without someone like Libby, who is a great, you know, passing, rebounding, you know, kind of a mismatched power forward. She does a lot to help Murphy with her scoring. And, you know, Hannah's a really good combo guard who's been able to mix up, you know, playing a little bit of point for us, playing a little bit of 2. But really, I mean, our team is a combination of a lot of different personalities and a lot of different talent that we kind of use to make our most effective scorers the most effective they can be.
Of course, this team, I mean, you have plenty of experience. You played for Trinity, Texas. You played for Coach Cunningham. What are you able to do with the program that you're getting, that you got under Coach Cunningham and done so well there with? How have you been able to transition that into the women's game and had so much success with it so early?
You know, I actually, my 2 brothers played for Pat. I missed Coach Cunningham by 1 year at Trinity. Okay. Unfortunately, would have loved to have had a chance to play for him.
No, you wouldn't have. Don't lie.
Yeah, it's a true story, man.
No.
I know his reputation precedes him, but no, and he's a great mentor for me, just as far as being a sounding board for things that we deal with. But you know, coaching women has been, it definitely wasn't in the plan at the beginning of my coaching career, and just the most unbelievably wonderful surprise ever. I just feel like there's a really good connection there. My personality and my methodology as a coach is a great fit for them, and you know it's worked out really well. You know, I think a lot of credit has to go to the kids. I mean, Trinity's a special place, and it attracts a certain type of young person, men, women, whatever. So the student athletes that you have the privilege of working with at a school like Trinity, I mean, it kind of puts it in a special category. And I just think the combination of all of those things has really been a good fit. And, I feel really fortunate every day when I get to work because it is a great place to work, and we've got great kids to work with.
A couple other things that jumped out at me about yourself. Your Bachelor's of Arts degree in speech communication. I'm sure that comes in handy as a head coach.
No question, no question. We try to emphasize communicating on our team too. Not just coach to players, but player to coach. And it's been a great major, and it was not exam intensive, which was another benefit for me as a college student. A lot of papers, a lot of speeches, no tests.
Yeah, well, no tests. I should have signed up for that.
Right.
Of course, I got to ask you about this. Your wife's name is Colleen. Of course, your name is Cameron. I'm sure you were having fun when you named your two sons Cole and Chase.
Yeah, well, my brother is Chris and my other brother's Casey. So in my family, the three sons were all C's. And, we, you know how it is. I mean, Random, I ended up marrying Colleen, and we decided to keep it going with our two sons. But the truth is, Cole is actually Robert Colton, and that's after my father, and
cool.
Chase is Thomas Chase, which is after Colleen's father. But still cool to have 4 C's in the family.
Well, I'm the Thomas side of things. I don't have Thomas on me. My dad's Tom. My brother's Tom. My 2 uncles are Tom. I married a family who's got 2 Toms. It's all about the Toms. It's ridiculous. Well, you should have seen the pictures. Coach, I got to let you go, but I love how you guys are doing things here. But first, I got to ask you, you're in the stretch of 5 games on the road to finish the season. You already played Centenary in Austin. Now you got to play Texas Lutheran and Shriner this weekend, and then Southwestern to finish things off. Have you talked to the commissioner and the conference people about how this stretch is finishing for you?
Man, we actually have a phrase on our team that we're road warriors and tough and tenacious, and we don't ever look at it like where we're playing is going to be a determining factor in the game. I like being on the road, and my team knows that. We talk about it a lot, but coming down the stretch, it's less about where we're playing and more about who we're playing. And I like the opportunity that we have to close really strong against, arguably the best competition in our league. So, we're definitely excited about it. And, I'm also very excited that Trinity will be hosting the SCAC tournament this year. So, we get through these next 3 games and we get to have everybody to our house for the tournament, which I think is going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with you. It'd be fun to at least sit at home for yourselves as well. Coach, thanks so much for appearing on the show. Thanks. You can thank your brethren and Pat Cunningham and others for being on the show and getting me to wear a Trinity T-shirt. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
I just appreciate the opportunity to do what I do, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you tonight, and be safe out there in the weather on the East Coast.
Hey, I might go out there and just have some fun in it at this point in time. Thanks so much, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll certainly keep an eye on the Tigers.
Thank you, Dave.
Take care. Coach Cameron Hill joining us again. Trinity, Texas, 17-5 on the season, having a pretty good darn year. He is having a really good career at Trinity, Texas. If you haven't looked it up, his first few years there have been stellar. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll jump back into some men's basketball action. We'll talk in the East in upstate New York. Kevin Broderick from Nazareth will get another T-shirt on. And then Chris Harney down in St. Mary's, as long as they have survived the storm as well. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. If you have a question for us or our guest, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Facebook us at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. And, of course, email us at Hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. You can also suggest guest ideas for us as well via those methods of communication. You're listening to Hoopsville. We'll be back with more in a bonus half hour of Hoopsville right after this.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we are on February 13th. And enjoying the show. We're in bonus time here as we added an extra half hour to the show tonight. Hope you're enjoying it. If you got questions for me or my guests, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com or Facebook us at Hoopsville at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Because of the success of the Hoopsville fundraising project tonight, we've had 3 guests, all because I get to wear their shirts and someone gets to pick the guest. Tonight, the third shirt is the Nazareth Golden Flyers, a wonderful T-shirt, really a long-sleeve T-shirt. It's absolutely the kind of shirt I love, just for the record. We have a whole pile of shirts that have come in. We've worn Trinity so far tonight. We wore Stevenson, and now we're wearing Nazareth. There are more shirts to come. Let me preview really quick this weekend shirt. One of the ones we'll be wearing will be... Oh, here it is. Middlebury. We'll be talking to them coming up on Sunday night. At least that is the plan at this point in time. We're still working out those details. But it's all because of kind donations to the Hoopsville fundraising project, which ended up raising just a tick under $12,000 unofficially. We still have others who have been interested in donating. And if you are interested in contributing to our fundraising efforts, you can always email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com, and we will let you know how to go about doing that. As a result of me wearing a Nazareth T-shirt, because of a young fan of Division III and Derek Cahill, joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is Coach Kevin Broderick of Nazareth. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Absolutely. I should mention, by the way, the Hoopsville hotline presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship weekend in the city of Salem. Coach, 15-6 on the year, 7-3 in conference play. Quietly, the Golden Flyers very much part of the conversation.
Yeah, we feel pretty good about how we're playing right now, and we have a league that just so many good teams, all bunched at the top, and a lot of tough games ahead, starting with our game against a very good St. John Fisher team tomorrow night.
Yeah, St. John Fisher looming here coming up tomorrow night on the road. Is that something the weather will allow you guys to still pull off?
It will, because St. John Fisher is about a quarter of a mile from our campus, and so we're
get
gonna
that.
Get there.
I've seen games canceled that are 5 blocks away before. That's why I ask.
Well, we're going to get there, and it's 2 schools that are very close together, and adds to the fun. It's been a great rivalry over the years. They're one of the toughest opponents we play every year, and a game we certainly get excited about.
This is obviously a big game with that. You then wrap up with Elmira on the road on Saturday. You're then at home against Alfred on the 18th, and then finish on the road against Utica on the 21st. This conference, Alfred already beat you guys earlier. They're looming. This conference lead right now is Stevens, maybe surprisingly considering how much they lost from last year's team. Alfred in the mix there, tied with you guys in second. Hartwick, maybe some people expected more out of them. They're sitting a game behind you guys. And then St. John Fisher, you just never know. They're always a good unit. They're sitting just 2 games in the loss column behind you guys. This conference seems wide open with just so little time left.
It really is, and I think that that's a sign of a very strong conference, that there's, some of us only have 3-4 games left, but still, so much undecided. And, as you went down the list, all those teams are very good teams. And, Elmira, who is in there too, is one of the hotter teams in the league, just playing very, very good right now. So we know every single game, starting with tomorrow, is a tough game, a tough opponent. And again, I think it's a sign of a very good league when there's so much undecided right now with so little time left.
I was going to say so little time off. I mean, some of those schools, again, we mentioned St. John Fisher with 2 losses behind you. They played, more games. They're going to have a little bit more time off. Some schools are squeezing in extra games. It's a little bit topsy-turvy. How do you keep your team focused on the fact you guys are going to fit in about 4 games here in a week?
Yeah, one of the strengths of our team this year has been we have 3 very mature seniors who've just provided great leadership. Brad Ford, who's one of our captains and, one of the, top players in the league the last 3 years, and Scott Hayford, Jack Giles. We have 3 seniors who've, really take a mature approach. And, probably the strength of our team this year has been, they've been very businesslike, ready to play almost all the time. And, we certainly worry about the toughness of our opponents, but haven't had to worry very much if our guys are ready to play, just, regardless of how many games we have to play in a weekend, in a week. And, that's part of Division III. We know we have a real tough game Friday and another tough one on the road Saturday afternoon.
This team certainly has a lot of experience. 4 members on it are seniors. What is this the kind of dangerous team? You got 4 seniors. They know what can be capable of being done, and you guys can kind of come out of not nowhere, but kind of maybe surprise a few teams and make a nice run here to finish the season.
Yeah. I really, again, our senior leadership has been good, and Jack Giles, for example, a guy who in his last 5 games has had a 38-point game, a 31-point game, a 20-point game. And he's a guy that for 2 years played very little, has really worked his way up through our program and, has gained some toughness. He played his freshman year behind Corey McAdam, who was an All-American for us, and Tyshawn Stevens, and he played a little bit as a 2-guard last year, but he's a guy that has really had a great senior year. And so, our leaders have been through the ups and downs of college basketball, and I think that makes them really good leaders and role models for us. So I feel good about that. You can't say every year you feel great about your leadership, but I do this year.
This is a situation where you guys are sitting there. You mentioned Giles, 15.1 points a game now. Of course, Brad Ford, 18 points, 10.5 rebounds a game. You got a lot of guys in double figures. Maurice Mills, 14 points a game. Mitch Ford, 13.1 a game. Scott Hayford, 10 points a game. Mills and Ford both hauling in 7 rebounds a game. It seems like it's that core of 5 guys who are on the stat sheet, really the catalyst for this team.
Yeah, and with our top 5 guys all are starters in double figures, and our bench is very young, and we feel like we have 5 freshmen and a couple sophomores who come off the bench for us, and we don't have any juniors, and so we have a very young bench, and they're helping us some, but certainly those top 5 guys have had to do. Had to do most of the work for us, and to have 5 guys in double figures, that's pretty good. And our bench has come on all year, and our young guys are getting better and have really helped us here lately.
Regional rankings came out. we got to look at what the East looks like this year. It's been an interesting East region. Right now, the SUNYAC leads the way in Brockport, Geneseo, and Plattsburgh. NYU up there in fourth. Hobart, then Stevens. A lot of people think you guys may be just on the outside knocking on the door right now. Do you have to have the mentality, thanks to these regional rankings and knowing what the SOS numbers look like, that you got to just win this conference and not anticipate any help from the NCAA tournament or NCAA committee?
Yeah, certainly I've adopted that mentality a long time ago. It's just so hard to to get one of those non-automatic bids, and I think most of us really approach this like, first of all, get in your conference tournament and do everything you can to win the conference tournament. Over the years, I know there's been a few times in my career where you've waited for that phone call, is trying to get an at-large, and it just doesn't come. And we know how difficult it is. We know how many quality teams are. So certainly that's the mentality for our team, is to do everything we can to get in our conference tournament and then try to win it. And it'd be certainly nice if we can win our league, on our way to doing, trying to do that. But that has to be our mentality.
What's it mean to coach your alma mater? You went and left and went to Oswego for 13 years, came back and now been the head coach there for coming up on 5 years officially. What's it like to coach your alma mater, especially the success you guys have had there?
Yeah, it's just it's a terrific school. It's a terrific place. I loved my 4 years as a player and a student. My wife and I both graduated from there, and Oswego is a place I'd love to coach, and I don't think I was ever interested in coaching anywhere other than my alma mater to leave a great place like Oswego. So it's been terrific. Basketball and athletics are very important in Nazareth, and we're treated great, and it's a great place to coach, great place to go to school.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate your good. I know he's your friend, Derek, for getting me to wear a Hoopsville or a Nazareth T-shirt. Appreciate you sending one as well. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Again, I do want to just say again what a great job you guys do for all of Division III. I know, as you and I have talked, you make all of our job easier and more fun. And we're using your website, and as we scout, prepare for opponents, and we really appreciate all the work you do, and our players do, our coaches do, and you do a great job for Division III. And Derek Hill is one of those guys. He is a big Nazareth guy, but he is a huge East Region guy, and he gives me a lot of info on a weekly basis about what happened in all the other conferences, and so it's been a lot of fun to have him with us, and he's been a big supporter of all the East Region teams, but Nazareth, I think, is first for him.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. I think, were you the one who told me if there's a lot of things kids can get involved with at this age, you're not worried about them? And I think your son included, if their hobbies Division III.
Right, they spend an awful lot of time on the D3 Hoops website watching games, and hey, what a better way to spend your free time. And it's definitely added some fun for all of us with that. And he's made our last 2 road trips with us. He's been on the bus with us the last 2 times, and now he expects to go to all of them. But it's a lot of fun. Our players love them. Our coaching staff, and it's added to the fun for all of us.
Watch out, he might start critiquing your coaching soon.
No, that's happened a long time ago, and he wants to be a coach, and I'm reminding him that let's do some learning before we do some critiquing. But he hopefully he keeps that passionate spot. He might have a career in broadcasting, but coaching maybe too, but he's going to be around the game. He loves the game, and it's great that he loves the D3 game, and he appreciates how talented these athletes are and how hard they work. And he's a big Syracuse University guy too, but he gets how he goes to a lot of Oswego State games, and he knows how good these guys at our level are and how hard they work.
Well, hey, it's nothing wrong with having them. We certainly love having them on the D3 realm. Tell them Syracuse is just a sideshow. We don't need to pay attention. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing how you guys finish off the season here and get into conference tournament action. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Absolutely, Coach. Thank you. Coach Kevin Broderick joining us from Nazareth, team 15-6 overall, 7-3 in the conference. Again, they are a game back, or two games in the win column. Back of Stevens, tied with Alfred. They've got Hartwick looming. They've got St. John Fisher tomorrow night, Elmira on Saturday, Alfred in middle of the week on Tuesday, and then Utica to finish off the season before they get into conference play. So a big week ahead for Nazareth. We're going to take another break. We're going to have one more guest on the show, and joining us will be St. Mary's men's basketball coach Chris Harney. If you want a treat, listening into Coach Harney is always one of those, and we certainly appreciate him joining us here tonight as we're in bonus time, and we will wrap up the show with him. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Again, questions for us or coaches, Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@D3Hoops.com or Facebook us at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. When we return, we'll talk St. Mary's men's basketball with Coach Chris Harney. We'll be back right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Our final segment of the show as we're getting ready to wrap up our bonus time here. If you got questions for us or our guest before the end of the show, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@D3Hoops.com or Facebook us at Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. That's how you can interact with us. We'll get right to our next guest. By the way, should point out, want to thank all of our guests who've come on the show. Thanks to others who have had them on. Thanks to us wearing T-shirts, all part of the Hoopsville fundraising project. Again, a tick under $12,000 raised in the last month. We certainly appreciate that, humbly appreciate that. We'll have more on that in the coming days and weeks. Of course, we'll have more guests on the show per those who made contributions. If you have any questions, if you missed it, maybe you want to make a contribution yourself, feel free to email us, hoopsville@d3hoops.com, and we'll let you know how to do it. Let's go back to the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem. And Coach Chris Harney joins us from St. Mary's. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time. Team is 16-6 on the season. 10-4 in landmark play. When you and I talked back at the beginning of the season, when you were at the Hoopsville Classic, I kind of got a sense you didn't think this is how this season would maybe progress.
No, I mean, it's been, it's been like any season. There's highs and lows, and every season, every coach is faced with, a set of solid things like, people that are returning, and then you're faced with a whole slew of intangibles like blending in new players, avoiding injury, and as we kind of joked about earlier, the weather. The weather's been a huge factor this year. All those things have factored in. I mean, that's part of our job, and we gotta kind of ride these things out. I was, what's one of my favorite sayings is, smooth seas don't make a great ship captain. These have been some rough seas. But every coach is facing that. It's been interesting, and everyone's trying. You got to be creative. I've taped up a few yoga rooms because all our gyms are being used, by other sports. So I've created a couple courts out of thin air, and that's really, I think that's a D3 dynamic too. That is really kind of for us. These kids have certain windows to practice based on their academic schedules, and class schedules. And, when you have weather like this come in and other sports or spring sports are kicking up and baseball, lacrosse, all this is going on, it really makes things difficult. And, I know it's school by school basis, but I'm sure every coach can relate. It's been these past couple of weeks have been a real test of, finding practice time and trying to make it effective,
Yeah, well, what's interesting is obviously the weather, which you guys experienced today, is certainly a factor. You've got 3 games left. You're taking on Southern Virginia on Saturday. You've got to go on the road to Christopher Newport on the 19th, on the road to Wesley on the 22nd. To say the least, that's you're going to go through a hitter's squad there to finish things up. But weather can become a factor there as well, and time is running out. How do you keep the team focused considering a numerous amount of distractions?
It's not easy. I think, in this day and age, you have to be real honest with your guys about the situation and, what's required of them. I think some other things you have to do is you really have to keep them moving. You can't, it's almost like going back to coaching Parks and Rec, which I did at one point. You don't have the daily practice schedule the way you want it, so you got to really maximize your time, and you got to kind of shape your practices in a way that they are, they're doing a lot, but you also don't want to, go, 2 or 3 hours. You want to keep it short and sweet but efficient. And I think that really, it really has a lot to do at this time of year. Overall, regardless of the weather, you want to kind of save their legs this time of year as you get into this stretch run. But I think it's even harder now, as I said, with the weather. You really got to try to make the best of the situation. I know, for example, it's just, like I said, it's not easy, but I know all the other coaches are going through the same thing, so you just try to make the best of it.
This season, you guys are in a spot where I think maybe you haven't been in a while. You've been a perennial NCAA tournament team, perennial deep run team since you guys made that crack through with the win against Guilford, which surprised everyone several years ago. Mm-hmm. A couple years ago, you guys make the NCAA tournament, maybe surprising some people because the at-large didn't seem possible. You're in a boat right now with 6 losses on the season. They're good ones, but still, you lost to Cabrini, you lost to DeSales, Mary Washington got you, Wesley got you, Salisbury got you, Mary Washington got you a second time. Do you have a sense that at this point it's win or go home? You've got a tough game with Christopher Newport looming. You got another tough one with Wesley. You got the conference tournament. Do you have a sense that if the Seahawks want to make the NCAA tournament, they're going to have to win out?
No, I don't have that sense. I focus on it each game. I'm not going to make excuses for our body of work. It's like I said, there has been a lot of intangibles this year that have factored in with this particular group. I do feel our losses, if you take a good look at them, I feel, DeSales was a game where we played poorly. I think if you take that game out of our losses, out of our 6 losses, and take a good look at those other 5, you'll see that all those games were down to the final minute. And we're talking top 20 teams, Mary Wash, Wesley, Salisbury. Those games all went to the wire. It's like, you flip a coin, we're on the other end of that. And I know you could look at that with some of our wins too, like Marymount. But I think, like for me personally, like I said, I think that the Sales game, we did not play well at home. I felt like the other games we played pretty well, and it really just came down to the final minute. 3 or 4 possessions. But overall, I don't feel that way. We try to really focus just on the next game. We're 16-6 right now. We win Saturday, we're 17-6. We get fortunate enough to play well, in our last 2 conference games. We could potentially be looking at 19-6 going into our own tournament. That's a pretty decent number. It is tough for me because I get calls from friends and they're like, "What's going on this year?" I'm like, we're 16-6. It's not too bad. But that's kind of the standard that we have here, and it's something that we want. I want those phone calls because I like that pressure. I want to win. That's just my competitive nature, and I want that challenge. And this year, it's been a challenge. It's been a great year for me as a coach. I'll be honest. I've faced challenges this year that I haven't faced in the past couple of years, and it's made me a better coach, and it's really forced me to really examine, what I'm doing and how to fix it. We've faced some things that just aren't typical for us this year, and whether it's injuries or any number of different things. But that's the challenge of coaching, is you got to really figure it out. I've said before, and I'll say it again. It's like you see these situations as kind of like a Rubik's Cube, and you got to figure it out. That's on you as the head coach, and you got to, just like you kind of put it on your players to figure it out. I think as a head coach, you got to do that too. And this year is no different. I look at it right now as I like where we're at. I think, to be honest with you, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like some people have forgotten about us, and I don't know if that's too bad. I think we've got a talented team. We've got veteran guys who've been there, who've been there before, and I feel like this group in particular, we've had some stumbles, but they've bounced back, and I know we have the potential to do some great things, and that's really what I'm trying to focus on right now. Just look at it, each game comes up. There is no night off in the CAC. Every team is very, very good, and even teams at the bottom of our league as this played out this year. With some upsets, York beating Wesley. I know Salisbury's really, really gotten hot of late. There's some dangerous teams lurking around, so there's no night off, and we're just trying to focus on that. Just play good basketball right now. Play good basketball tomorrow. And see what comes, and not get too caught up with looking down the road or looking where we're going or, what might happen or this might happen. It's going to play out one way or the other. And I think if you get caught focusing down the road, you lose sight of what's in front of you,
This conference, though, is light and day different than it used to be. We knew that Christopher Newport entering the conference would certainly change that just a little bit this year. But Mary Washington, maybe the surprise of the conference this year. Wesley is playing much better despite losing one of their best players in program history. Did you anticipate this conference being this deep, especially at the top this year?
Yeah, I definitely did. I told everybody and anybody that listened, I thought Mary Washington was going to be great this year. They reminded me, and they still do. The team they have right now reminds me a lot of the group we had last year. I feel, and by that I mean that they're very balanced. They can really shoot the ball well from outside, and they also, and I guess what I mean more as far as comparing them to the group I had last year, they really are tough to rattle. They really kind of play within themselves, and they're a good team. They're just a good ball club. They're well coached, and they've got a really great starting five that really is tough to go up against because of their ability to play inside and out. And Wesley, as always, Wesley always puts out a great product. Jerry's a great coach, and they always come to play, and they're always a tough out. Every year they're right there and playing for the championship, and this is just another year they're just doing it again. I think Jerry doesn't get enough credit, sometimes for the coaching job that he does down there. But I knew those two guys were going to be tough. I think Josh has done a tremendous job at Salisbury as far as bringing in recruits and really getting that program, with kind of like a good base of talent. And now, it doesn't surprise me that they're playing well. I honestly thought they were going to be right there in that mix as well. I think they're starting to peak. They had a really tough injury with Harwood early in the year. And when he went down, that was a big hit for them. He's a key player for them. But he's back now, and I think you're seeing Milburn step up. So they're kind of peaking right now. And Newport, we knew they were going to be good. They're a young team. I think if you look at them, they're really young through the forwards. And I think that's kind of been tough on them in the league this year. I think that their guards are as good as anybody's. But I think when you get into the forwards, they have some young forwards that play a lot for them, and it's been tough, I think, matchup-wise for them with some of, the David Langens at Wesley and some of that kind of matchup, and Fairnet at Mary Wash. But again, it doesn't, like I said, I'm not surprised. I knew the league was going to be tough, and, Marymount's made great strides, and Chris Rogers done a great job there, and they're as good as, I feel like if the league wasn't as strong at the top as it is, Marymount would be right in the mix, in the discussion. They've got a very deep team and very talented as well.
Let's talk about your team. You got 4 seniors on this squad that many people would recognize if they know the Seahawks: Don Hill, Brendan McFall, Kyle Wise, and Chris Hutchinson. Of course, you'll lose all of them, but you still have Nick Laguerre. He's leading the team 15 points a game. You've got Hill and McFall 14 and 11, respectively. Sophomore Troy Spurrier has been a nice surprise, 10 points a game. Kyle Wise, his 6 points. Kyle Hutchinson, 4.5. Certainly, you've got a nice nucleus here of seniors that have led the way, and you've got a lot of other players who haven't seen a lot of time. Do you have a feeling like this is the team to take advantage of before maybe next year isn't a rebuild, but maybe a reloading type of year?
I don't know. I think, I'm a big believer that to win the CAC, you've got to have depth, and we lost some good players from last year. We lost Devin Spencer, Jeff Haas, James Davenport. And those guys were really solid players for us. And James Davenport was like the super 6 man. And Jeff Haas, I think, started half our games and came off the bench for half our games. And, that was a tough hit because those guys definitely, they gave us, they allowed us to play 7, 8, 9 deep with real quality. This year, for various factors, I think, we brought in 8 freshmen. And I think that some of those freshmen have gone through what every freshman goes through, trying to figure college basketball out along with academic, course load and and being away from home for the first time. And God knows they have to put up with me, which is a whole nother nightmare in itself, I'm sure.
I'll give them I'll give them a run through on that.
But I think that those guys have really come a long way. I think that's part of our season this year. I think we did have, when you look at us, we're interesting. We have some seniors, but we have 8 freshmen.
Yeah.
And some of those guys have really, they've had ups and downs, but I've been really impressed. Gavin Scanlon's going to be a great player for us. He just had a great game Wednesday against York, and he's been coming on. He's been giving us some depth. Patrick Ryan's another one. He's been kind of getting some minutes at the backup forward spot for us. We had McGyver Biniak missed, half the season. He's come on and he's come back. That was a big, loss for us as far as size wise. So, like I said, we're trying to get through these issues that, ups and downs and whatnot. But I like where we're at. I really do. I like where we're at, and I think we've said it before, and it's a common coaching phrase. It's all about how you're playing at the end. And I think that's what everybody's trying to do now, is really trying to find their rhythm going into the the close of the regular season and going into the tournament. It's the team that's playing well at the end that's going to win it. It's not the team that's playing well in the beginning.
Sure.
So I think, I look at the group we have now, and I like where we're at. I really do. I think that we're definitely going to be a team to watch out for, and just like I said, we take it game by game, and we'll see how it plays out.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show as always. Love chatting with you. Looking forward to seeing how the Seahawks do as they close out. Tough stretch of 3 games here, certainly, and then conference tournament action. As always, we give the final word to the guest. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, I'm excited for the tournament, as I know all the conference plays coming up for everybody, the conference tournaments. And this time of year is just great. it's all this work that you put into your season, and the players, all the sacrifice they put into the season, and it's really fun to see teams kind of come out of nowhere, and some of the established teams trying to get into the tournament. And I look at the top 20 right now, or top 25, and there's a lot of new faces in there, and I think it's great in a way, that you're seeing some of these programs rise up. And as I said earlier, I joked about my friend calling me and saying, "Hey, you guys are struggling." I kind of really appreciate all the coaches in D3 because the expectation is to win every year. But in reality, we lose seniors every year, and we bring a new group in, and then there's 8 million other variables that factor in. But all these coaches out there that are just, they're really working hard and spending time away from their families and, sacrificing a lot, for something that they love to do. And I think it's really a special product. I've said it before, and I've said it again. I love Division III for that reason. I think it's a great product, and you got these players and coaches just sacrificing so much just for this Division III dream, and I think it's great. And I'm looking forward to our conference tournament, and I'm looking forward to the national tournament, and it's a great time of year. March Madness. I think about it while I shovel my driveway right now.
Oh, come on, you got like 4 inches out there. I don't want to hear about it.
But I think it's great, and as always, I really appreciate what you guys do at D3 Hoops. I mean, obviously putting our brand out there and putting our product out there the way you do, it's great. And I know you've been pushing for the fundraising. I'm definitely going to donate towards that. I feel a little pressure now, so
you don't have to feel pressure, but you should feel pressure.
No, I definitely think it's great what you guys do. I can't thank you enough, and I know the players and coaches appreciate it. So it's a great brand of basketball, and every year it's a new chase. It's chasing. It's like I always tell the guys, like chasing a rabbit. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But one team's going to win it, and it'll be fun to see how that plays out.
Well, very good, Coach. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Good luck the rest of the way, especially dealing with the weather, especially the trip your first time down to Christopher Newport, and, of course, the fun trip to Wesley, as always. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks again.
Absolutely. Coach Chris Harney joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. St. Mary's 16-6 overall. Fighting it out in a much tougher Capital Athletic Conference than we have seen in a very, very long time. A couple score updates. Let's just give you an idea of what's going on in Division III. In men's basketball action, I count 8 postponements tonight. Immaculata versus number 2 Cabrini was postponed. Number 18 Purchase versus NYU Poly was postponed. St. Joe's of Maine versus Mount Ida. Kane State and Massachusetts College. Farmingdale State and Mount St. Vincent. And LaSalle versus Suffolk. Salem State versus Leslie, and Yeshiva versus St. Joseph's of Long Island. All postponed tonight. Other scores. Texas Dallas is up big on Eastern Texas, 68-42. That's Eastern Texas Baptist, we should point out. Other scores really not jumping out at me as games that would jump out at you. It's kind of a quiet night necessarily, thanks to all those postponements as well. Women's side of things, one top 25 team in action. Texas Tyler defeated Concordia, Texas, 71-61. Otherwise, nobody really in action that jumps out at me, and I don't see any major upsets along the way either. We're going to once again want to thank all our guests for appearing on the show tonight. Certainly plenty to talk about. Regional rankings we didn't tackle as much, but if you do have questions for us, we'll try and tackle some more of that on Sunday. Second regional rankings will come out on Wednesday. But thanks to Coach Coach Cat at Pomona-Pitzer, Bill Brown at Wittenberg, Brian Morehouse at Hope, Jackie Boswell at Stevenson, along with Gary Stewart at Stevenson, Darren Trevelyan at Maryville, Cameron Hill at Trinity, Texas, Kevin Broderick at Nazareth, and of course Chris Harney from St. Mary's of Maryland. I want to thank them all for being on the show, and thank the donors as well for getting us to wear a Stevenson shirt, a Trinity, Texas shirt, and a Nazareth shirt. More shirts coming. We have more behind us, as you can see. We have more arriving. We have plenty of guests still to get on from all your kind contributions. Again, a tick under $12,000 with more on the way. We know of coaches who've said they'd like to contribute. If you'd like to contribute, the campaign on the website on Indiegogo is over, but you're welcome to email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com, and we can give you information on how to contribute to improving and growing this show for the future. We are well into bonus time, so we're going to get wrapping up here. Don't forget, lots to talk about along the way on the men's side of things. Certainly some carnage in the top 25 is 1, 2, sorry, that's the women. Let me try that again. 3, 4 teams, 5, 6 teams have lost already with tough games still to play. Don't be surprised if we see some more upsets there. Of course, on the women's side, just 3 losses, but Tufts losing to Babson was the big one there. Tufts was outscored by more than 20 in the second half as Babson won that 58-52. Christopher Newport on the women's side apparently forgot to show up. Mary Washington thumped them by 30, 74-44, and John Carroll losing to Baldwin Wallace in a close one. Mary Washington also lost to Christopher Newport on the men's side. Ohio Wesleyan lost to Wabash, Wittenberg to DePaul, Randolph-Macon, Eastern Mennonite, Dubuque. Just can't stay in the top 25. They lose to Loris, the top 25 killers. So Dubuque, now 20-2, will probably fall out of the top 25. Messiah lost to Stevenson. They'll fall out of the top 25 as well. If you have any questions for us, if you have guest ideas for us down the road, feel free to email us, Hoopsville at d3hoops.com, tweet us at d3hoopsville, or hashtag Hoopsville, and of course Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville. That's going to do it for the show tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it along the way. And we will be back on the air Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Don't forget, 2 weeks from today, we will be in Salem, Virginia for the ODAC Women's and Men's Championship Tournaments. We may not be on the air 7 and 9 like we normally are, but we will certainly have coverage in the ahead of those 2 big days of basketball. More details to come. And, of course, we'll also do a bunch of interviews while we're down there as well. That's 2 weeks from today. Hoopsville on the road at the ODAC Championships in Salem, Virginia. I want to thank the city of Salem as well for being the presenting sponsor of our hotline. Also, thanks to D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches for supporting Hoopsville as they always do. And thank you, the fans who've contributed to the Hoopsville fundraising project. You certainly deserve a thank you as well. We appreciate your support in growing this show down the road. That's going to do it for tonight. Thanks to all our guests. Thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back on the air Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Once again, you've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll see you on Sunday night.